between the US and China. Beijing has promised it will take forceful measures if the trip goes ahead. It comes at a time when reports suggest Presidents Joe Biden and Xi Jinping are looking to speak in the coming weeks. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. As various parts of the world come under heat advisories this week, some new research is suggesting a link between climate change and insomnia. Researchers at the University of Copenhagen studied nearly 24 climate change models, and they're projecting that we will all lose between 50 and 58 hours of sleep each year if the Earth continues warming at its current level. That's because there's a direct link between the temperature in which you're sleeping and the depth of that sleep. Dr. Janet Neshwat is a medical director and GP at CityMD in New York.
Anywhere between 68 and 72 degrees is where most people like to sleep. But you don't want it to be too hot, because definitely can interfere with your sleep and wake you up in the middle of the night. Don't lay in bed on your cell phone at nighttime when you're trying to fall asleep. Don't watch TV or sleep with the television on. All these little things together can help improve your sleep and help get you to sleep and keep you asleep.
Research shows sleep loss is 3 times higher in summer than it is in winter, which is one of the reasons why the researchers in Denmark believe that global warming is poised to have such an impact on our ability to rest. They say in the last 20 years, people have already lost around 44 hours or 6 full nights of sleep each year as a result of global warming. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
And the main news again. A US court is fast-tracking Twitter's case against Elon Musk after he decided to end a takeover deal, claiming issues with spam accounts. Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska is in the US and meeting her counterpart Jill Biden as the country continues to fight off a Russian invasion and needs weapons to do so. And the US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi plans to visit Taiwan, angering China, which claims the self-ruled island as its own. There's more from us on Twitter at Feature Story, and that's the latest from Feature Story News. Caroline Malone reporting.
An innovative new smartphone app funded by the GOP is set to streamline voter discrimination in key swing states. With more on this fascinating story, we go to Jason Copeland.
Well, thanks, Andrea. A new election means a new set of racist voting laws in battleground states, causing long delays and chaos at the polls. But does it have to be so cumbersome? This year, the exciting new Vote Right app aims to help minorities avoid the hassle by stripping away their vote right in the palm of their hands. The Vote Right app is incredibly user-friendly. When you register, you first enter a set of personal information and take a photo of your skin. Vote Right immediately makes rash generalizations about you, and these are just some of Vote Right's intuitive new features. Real-time updates on the bullshit red tape preventing you from registering, and even a video of a condescending white woman who will scream at you from the phone rather than in person at the polling station.
This isn't a food stamp line, sir. You need ID.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Welcome to the show. The phones are open here if you want to join us. All you got to do is dial in at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you tonight, we've got Ian, Aria,
and Conan.
And you can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com. Enjoy the features waiting for you on our sites. We give them away, and you enjoy them for free at freetalklive.com. Conan, you and I, we had the same show prep here tonight. Usually that's an indicator that we should talk about that thing first.
Absolutely. I think this is getting the rounds for sure.
And it's making headlines, the shooting.
I am so surprised. Early this morning, I saw a couple of articles, like one from the actual location, the community. And I was like, all right, well, this is going to get swept under the rug.
That's what I figured.
This doesn't help the narrative, right. the gun grabbing narrative, but I'm very happy that I just did a Google search and everyone's
out there.
This guy is a hero. There was an incident.
Yep, mass shooting.
It could have well, because there was more than 3, and the rules are, the statistics say three shootings in an incident equate to a mass shooting. This was one, but it could have been real bad. So three were killed, sadly. 2 were injured.
A shopping mall.
This guy got taken out like within 10 seconds because
was it that fast? Wow.
Because there was a guy who was just going around doing his thing, and he happened to be carrying. So,
I don't know how you pronounce this guy's name.
I'm just going to call him Eli.
Yeah, it's
That's
spelled
his nickname.
Elisjsha.
It's very strange. I'm going to from now on, I'm referring to him as Babyface Eli.
It sounds like Elijah.
Possibly,
It does.
Elijah Dicken, 22 years old, and he does look very young, very kind of Kyle Rittenhouse age.
Exactly, yeah.
And he was in the mall, and he was armed, and he took this shooter down, apparently from, was it 40 yards away?
I don't know. The guy had hardly walked out. He walked out of the bathroom, got a couple of shots off, and I think 20 shots, and bam, he was down for the count. Greenwood. On Sunday, a lone gunman entered the Greenwood Park Mall food court armed with 2 rifles and a pistol and opened fire in about 100 rounds of ammo.
What was the state?
Indiana.
Okay.
Indianapolis.
I'm sorry.
Indiana.
After hearing the gunfire, according to police, Eli Dicken, 22, of Seymour, Indiana, fired the handgun he was carrying and attempted to stop the shooter. His gunfire hit the gunman and killed him, according to police. Dicken gave permission for authorities to release his name, age, and hometown, but has declined to speak publicly about the shooting as he continued to process what has occurred, and that's probably good for him, especially after what happened to our man with the our other babyface hero of the day.
Who's that?
Kyle Rittenhouse.
I don't know if I'd call him a hero. I mean, he didn't stop anything except attacks on himself.
Well, he was trying to be a hero from the get-go, putting out fires and breaking up incidents, more mass rioting. Just being a presence. So maybe not. I mean, and of course,
heroes don't generally go looking for problems to solve. They just respond to them as they come up.
Well, and that's why I think the term Samaritan is getting thrown around loosely all day, and some have come out and says, nah, this guy was not a Samaritan. You couldn't call Kyle Rittenhouse a Samaritan because, like you said, he was
just protecting
himself, really. But I mean, the question is Eli Dicken? Is he?
It sounds like he's a hero for sure.
Yeah.
He shot apparently 10 rounds at the shooter, 7 of which hit at 40 yards. So just confirm that 40 yards, so 3 foot per yard, right? We're talking about 120 feet away.
22-year-old,
with a handgun.
Not military, not prior military, not prior
just
police.
Somebody with some practice.
Just some dude who says he was trained by either his dad or his granddad.
Yeah, apparently he put himself up against like a column to steady himself a little bit more, because they say, somebody points out here in an online forum that when they go to the range, they're usually shooting, when they're training on handguns, they're shooting 25 to 30 feet away.
Right.
And they might do some long-range practice, but never 40 yards away. I mean, that's rifle territory, and this guy did it with a handgun. That is an impressive shot.
It is.
Under pressure, right?
All you police, you dog shooters, you unloading 100 rounds into a parked vehicle. What they need to do, you need to stop what you're doing. You need to take tomorrow off, and you need to all watch this surveillance footage.
Is there footage of it?
And I'm sure the police have access to it.
Yeah,
and there are pictures of the shooter, so that some of the images have been released. 4chan's got those images, of course, but you need to all sit down and you need to watch whatever happened, because you need to learn from this for sure. According to the Greenwood Police Chief James Isund, Dicken was shopping at the mall with his girlfriend. At 5:57 p.m., less than 2 minutes after the gunfire began, Dicken engaged with the gunman. Quote, I will say his actions were nothing short of heroic. He engaged the gunman from quite a distance with a handgun, Isund said. He was very tactically sound, and as he moved to close in on the subject, he was also motioning for people to exit behind him. He had no police training and no military background.
Well, thank goodness. If he had police training, he would have missed 7 out of 10 instead of hitting
wildly into a crowd or something.
There would have been more casualties. Isund said Dixon's first shot at the gunman was from 40 to 50 yards away, and it appeared the very first shot hit the gunman.
Amazing.
Dicken was able to hit the gunman with additional rounds as well.
Is he dead? Is the gunman
Oh, yeah, he's dead.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 bullets will do that.
Most of the time.
Well, I think this is 9mm. So if you're not hitting vital organs, then you could walk away from crawl away from that anyways. Dicken was carrying a 9mm Glock, according to Isund. After confirming the shooter was no longer a threat, Dicken approached mall security and cooperated with officers, according to Eisen. He was handcuffed and questioned by officers, but released upon verification of his actions via surveillance video.
All right.
In Indiana, beginning July 1st, guess what? It just happened. Carrying a handgun no longer required a permit.
July 1st.
How do you like that?
I'd heard it had happened recently.
By the way, there are tweeters out there, gun-grabbing tweeters, who are complaining that he was in a gun-free zone.
Well, that's one of the more interesting aspects of this case. Is he was in a corporate mall. I believe it's a Simon Mall. That's one of the biggest mall owners in the country, and they have a no guns policy, which he violated.
Yeah, we'll see.
Goodness,
we'll see where this goes. We'll see if this mall is willing to put themselves in the spotlight
and remove that policy.
Well, not remove the policy, but actually make wind of this incident.
What do you mean by that? Make wind.
Create an incident, their own incident, calling this guy out.
It'd be stupid.
It would be the dumbest thing in the world.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, we'll see. We do live in a clown world.
And they have attorneys and stuff like that who will keep them from doing anything that stupid, I think.
But anyways,
the mall issued a statement.
Even if July 1st didn't happen, according to Eisen, Dickin did. I'm sorry. Dickin did not have a permit for his handgun, but due to the passage of the constitutional carry bill in Indiana, he was legally carrying the weapon. What did the mall say?
Simon Property Group, according to AP News story about this, they issued a statement Monday saying it grieves for the victims and praised Dickin's actions as, quote, heroic actions. It didn't mention its no weapons policy, and its operator, the Simon Property Group, didn't respond to a request for comments. So as far as they're concerned, they're done. They put out their statement, and they downplayed their no weapons policy.
Wow.
Now, whether they change that policy or not is another question, but this really just goes to remind gun owners out there that just because a place says no guns, I get it, it's private property and everything, but if you're concealed carrying, it's none of their damn business what you have in the small of your back. And it's your life, and I don't think there's anything wrong with keeping your weapon about you in these places.
Do it and just go to your state and figure out whether your state is an ask, whether a cop can ask you if you're carrying or not, or whether you have to tell him while he approaches you. And by the way, I think New Hampshire is you don't have to tell him, even if they ask.
Well, the worst case in this situation is Simon says, you're banned from our mall, son.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the worst case here. It's not a crime.
Who's even going to malls? Where are these? Where are malls?
It's amazing to me that anybody goes to a mall.
Where do they even exist? Unless they have other, big shopping centers, in the vicinity.
There's still some of them. Somehow they're still in business. They're getting desperate. They're starting to take on anybody who can fog a mirror and has $1,000.
I think Amazon is actually buying them up, turning them into warehouses. Or maybe the warehouse / storefronts. I don't know. I heard about that a year ago. I don't know where that's gone. The chief of police continues, I am 100% certain that many more people would have died last night if it wasn't for his heroism.
Yep.
So,
wow. It's an amazing story.
Yeah.
And also, as you point out, amazing the press is even doing anything with this beyond Indianapolis.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it's going to get some coverage there, but the fact that AP or anywhere else is even reporting on this is pretty amazing. If you want to share your thoughts, you can join us, 603-283-6160.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover springs her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Everything you're already doing still isn't enough? I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. When you're shopping bricks and mortar, ask for an open box. I saved a couple $100 on the computer I'm writing this on. Still brand new and under warranty. Shopping online? Before you check out that cart, open a separate browser and Google promo codes for the company you're shopping. And if you're a member, try AAA or AARP. Shopping for services? On vacation, I flossed off a crown, and the nearest dentist wanted $75 to re-cement it. When I asked, discount for cash? The doc pocketed the crisp $50 I offered. Threatened to quit. Many subscription services and publications will counteroffer. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and the phones are open if you want to join us. Talking about the hero in Indianapolis at a mall, shopping mall, where a lunatic started shooting and apparently didn't get much further than a few seconds of shooting.
Let's be very clear here. A gun-free mall.
Yes. But the individual who heroically saved the day, I mean, 3 people were killed, but he probably prevented dozens more from being wounded and or killed.
That guy had at least another 80 rounds to go.
Wow.
How did the shooter get in there with rifles in the first place? You said he came out of the bathroom?
He was in the bathroom for up to an hour, prepping, I guess.
Assembling things or whatever.
How did they not notice him walk in with 2 rifles?
Maybe he had them disassembled.
Yep.
Okay.
In a backpack. So, yeah, 2 rifles and a handgun, and took him a little while to figure him out.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely no security at a mall, right? So you just walk in and there
and
you
of course,
are.
And of course, as Ian mentioned in the last segment, the mall did come out and they
they lauded the man. Yep. And ignored the fact they are a gun-free zone. Ignored their weapons restriction policy.
Yeah, and we'll see where that transforms into in the next few weeks. Whether they fall back, maybe take their stupid gun-free signs down.
I don't think they'll do that, but
No,
it sounds like it's a permission to cheat, basically. Like, I mean, if you have a concealed weapon and you need that concealed weapon inside their properties, they're not going to seek any action against you for using it.
Well, here's a question for you listeners out there. How many of you work for something, I don't know, like Uber, or you're a bus driver or whatnot, and you aren't allowed via your job description to carry? And you do because you do it anyways, and you end up having to use it one day, and you get fired.
Fine, at least you're still alive.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, if anyone out there can relate and has a telling story that involves being removed from your position, or did your employer was your employer like, hey, you know what? Just thank God you had a gun, and I know it's against the rules. I know we don't allow it and all, but you saved all the passengers on that bus because you were carrying. Or
in this case, you can't be fired.
Or you were working in a store and you were carrying and you saved a whole lot of people, even though you broke the rules.
Sure. Well, which leads to I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, as somebody saying, well, you libertarians, you're always talking about property rights and respecting property rights, and here you are saying that it's okay to go ahead and break this private property's rules, and I think all three of us agree on this, right? Like, we don't disagree. It's okay what he did.
That's really good. That's a real good question.
I mean, it worked out. I don't know if I would say it's okay, but I mean, it worked out in this occasion.
Typically, our response is, the libertarian response is, well, I'm not going to your stupid mall. I'm not going to your stupid movie theater. I'm not going to your restaurant or your gas station.
But, his girlfriend wanted to go to the mall. I think his girlfriend was there or something like that. And, she had some shopping to do. She wanted to go to the Gap or whatever. They wanted to go see a movie. And he decided to carry his gun with him and break the private property owner's rules.
It is a violation of the private property.
Might as well smoke in their public restroom, I guess. I don't know. I mean, he broke their rules, right? And that's not right. He should respect their private. It worked out in this occasion. I'm not saying it's not. And it's a good thing that he broke the rules, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But because the other people are going to break the rules as well.
Or maybe bad rules are worth breaking. It's kind of a Jefferson,
it goes back to the question
Jeffersonian.
If you outlaw guns, then only outlaws will have guns, right? And that's sort of what would have happened here. If you don't allow guns on your property, then the only people who will have guns on your property are the ones who are willing to break the laws.
So a similar conversation to this one happened during the whole COVID crackdown insanity. Some people were trying to hold us to the same level of account of saying, oh, you libertarians, you always say private property rules, and now you're just not wearing masks into places that say masks are required.
Well, I didn't.
You wouldn't even go into those places?
I went 2 years without going anywhere.
That's amazing. I had no problem doing it. And here's my rationale for it is, if it's really a rule, then come talk to me about it.
Right.
Okay? If it's really a problem, you, manager, or whoever's in charge of this store, you will come talk to me as the customer who's breaking the rule, and you'll explain to me that it's important that I not be here because I'm not wearing a mask or open carrying a gun or something like that, and then I will respect your request because it has been communicated effectively to me at that point. Because sometimes signs on the doors are strong suggestions. In the case of the COVID thing, we who were going to these places, we knew there was a way to get out of it.
Right.
We knew that all you had to do is utter the magic words and say, I have a medical exemption. In my case, I actually do have a note from a doctor, but you didn't need to show that, and they shouldn't ask you to show that.
And does it say, is it a picture of the Constitution?
No, it's an actual note from a doctor.
Or I need this amount of oxygen to survive, and this is violating my...
It's not their right to know the reasons, but anyway, okay, fine. If you really don't want my business, just come tell me about it. I'll turn around and I'll leave the store.
Concealed carry is different, though. They can look at you and tell that you're not wearing a mask. They can't look at you and tell that you're concealed carrying.
They could tell if you're open carrying, and that may get you the response that I'm talking about.
Well, if you open carry into a mall, you're probably not getting far.
Can I tell you, kind of change of subject, can I tell you one rule that gets broken in the grocery store every day I'm in there that pisses me off no end?
Okay.
The people bring in their dogs in there with them, and they're not service animals. They're just straight up a dog in the shopping basket.
Why does this make you angry? Okay, I understand. In the shopping basket's a bit stupid.
My dog just went. My dog would never piddle on anything. I was in Home Depot a couple of months ago. And I swear to God, this dog pissed. Marked a little Market's territory piss, not a full out stream. It went down an aisle while the customer was looking off in the distance, looking at something else.
They didn't even have control of the dog?
It was on a leash, but the dog pissed on every single pallet with merchandise on these
How
pallets.
How long was this leash? The customer wasn't walking with the dog?
The customer was walking with the dog.
So
not
they were
even
standing right there, noticing the dog peeing.
I don't think they noticed, or maybe they did. Maybe it's the same kind of.
Oh my God.
Maybe the same kind of human being that will allow their dogs to piss on your mailbox.
Were you planning on purchasing any of this merchandise?
This is all wrapped up. They hadn't even unloaded it yet. They still had the plastic on it.
Hold on, Conan, are you really upset about?
So what do you care?
You
didn't have to.
Whoa! Hold on. There might be something on there.
You didn't have to clean it up.
And I've worked in a grocery store before, and I've had to clean up after animals. No, forget it. And especially, but oh my God, especially grocery stores where there's food, and you've got these nasty mongrels. Some of them not even on leashes, up in the shopping basket. And here I am. You got these numbskulls that are all about you got to wipe everything down. You got to sanitize. You got to wear your mask. And meanwhile, they're the same people who've got their nasty mongrels in there with them.
I don't know about dogs in the shopping carts. I've never seen that. But
I see puppies. I see puppies in shopping carts all the time.
Even before I had a dog, which I've never taken to a grocery store, I never took any issue with people walking their dogs with them. It's a member of their family.
We've taken Coconut to Walmart.
There are don't do it with me and don't tell me about it. There are stores
just did.
like the steak and pet foods or the pet food stores. It's like dogs are welcome in here. It's like, all right, hey, and I got a problem with
They're
that.
also welcome at Home Depot.
Yeah, this is where the dog was pissing on every single pallet that was walking by.
Walmart's got a guy right up front. If they didn't want the dog, they could say something.
And that goes to your point about if it's really a rule, the guy would actually say something. Or he'll go get the manager, and they don't. So it's not really a rule.
Do they even have a sign on the door at Walmart?
I don't know.
I don't think they do. No, I think it's service animals only or something like that. And people just say, "Oh, it's a service animal." It's my.
They're not even allowed to ask.
It's my stress dog. Yeah, exactly. It's my stress dog.
There's more coming up here. The number is 603-283-6160. Whether you want to talk about dogs peeing in grocery stores or shooting people in malls, it's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off, now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm William Denslow. Scorching temperatures have been seen across much of Europe, and wildfires are sweeping through parts of the continent. And the hottest day in the UK on record has now been officially recorded. Hundreds of firefighters have been battling blazes across London. Chris Jones reports from the capital.
It's officially the hottest it's ever been in the UK right now. A temperature of 39.1 degrees Celsius was recorded at around midday UK time in Surrey, just outside of southwest London. This follows the record for the hottest night ever, which was also recorded in Surrey at 25.8 degrees Celsius. Health experts have warned people to stay indoors where possible and not to make unnecessary journeys. They say the temperature could keep rising, and it's been reported that several people have already died because of the heatwave, including a 14-year-old boy in West London.
The US believes that Russia plans to annex more parts of Ukraine, using similar tactics seen with Crimea back in 2014. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says the operation is already in the works, and that sham referendums could be held by September. This comes as Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska is in the US to meet her US counterpart Joe Biden and to address Congress. She's also met Secretary of State Antony Blinken as Ukraine seeks more aid for its response to Russia's invasion. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
The Ukrainian First Lady's visit to the US comes 4 months after her husband, President Volodymyr Zelensky, made a virtual speech to Congress, calling for more military equipment. He received a standing ovation from US lawmakers. Olena Zelenska is expected to address Congress in person on Wednesday. Ms. Zelenska has no official role in the Ukrainian government, but Kyiv is keen to seek more military aid and political backing from the US.
People in Kansas will have to vote to decide on whether the right to abortion should remain protected under law in the state. A number of US states have already banned abortion since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The issue's getting a lot of attention during the primary elections ahead of November's congressional midterms. US correspondent Caroline Malone reports.
Voters in Kansas will be the first to decide for themselves if the right to abortion should remain constitutionally protected. On August 2nd, they'll go to the polls with the choice of removing a law that says personal autonomy is protected by the state's constitution's Bill of Rights.
And a US court has agreed to fast-track Twitter's lawsuit against Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO decided to walk away from a takeover of Twitter, claiming the company misrepresented how many spam accounts are on the platform. Twitter claims Musk breached their merger arrangement. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here. Your thoughts welcome on private property rules. What are the real rules and what are just suggestions?
Yeah.
The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can bring up whatever is on your mind here tonight. With you in the studio, it's Ian.
Aria.
And Conan.
So you can take control of the airwaves. We got other things that we definitely want to cover tonight, but we're in the midst of a discussion that was sparked by this hero. A 22-year-old young guy in Indianapolis was at the mall with his girlfriend. Some lunatic brings in what was the shooter using? The crazy person.
An AR-style long gun.
Okay, they brought in some sort of a rifle, assembled it or something while they were in the bathroom for an hour, like snuck it into their backpack, brought it in to the mall, came out and started shooting, and within seconds, apparently, the 22-year-old guy, apparently the shooter was 20, the 22-year-old guy braces himself up against some sort of a support column and fired 10 shots. Now, at this shooter, connected 7 hits at a distance of 40 yards away, 120 feet away. This is very, very long-distance shooting for somebody with a handgun. Generally, you want to have a rifle yourself if you're going to be shooting that far. But dude hit 7 out of 10 shots and took this guy down.
That's damn impressive.
Yeah, pretty awesome stuff. And he's just a young guy. He hasn't been to the military. He's not a cop or anything like that. And
he just grew up in a family where he got sat down.
Yep.
By one of his elders,
taken to the range,
and taught how it works, how to shoot, how to take care, how to prevent yourself from shooting yourself in the leg, and
he was responsibly carrying a weapon concealed in Indianapolis, where apparently
without
a permit, which now is legal. Apparently, they have concealed carry without a permit there
this month
as of July 1st. So just in time, this guy started exercising his rights as soon as he could and was able to save probably, another dozen or so people from being killed.
Absolutely.
In this particular incident.
And I would say overwhelmingly the response that I see has been very positive, and I think a lot of people are waking up to these good Samaritans, these heroes, and the reason why the gun grabbers are wrong. Here's a prime example. Tweet from the Bloomington traffic anchor, Murrow award-winning journalist Justin Kohler was flabbergasted by the chief's framing, calling him a hero, of course, calling him a Samaritan. He expressed his dismay in a tweet. The term Good Samaritan came from a Bible passage of a man from Samaria who stopped on the side of the road to help a man. I cannot believe we live in a world where the term could equally apply to someone killing someone. My God.
Killing a murderer.
I know, right?
In the act of committing murder. Mass murder.
What else would a good Samaritan do in that? Stop to tend the wounds of the dying? It's very similar to the Buddhist parable of the guy who gets shot by an arrow, and he wants he wants his general or whatever to chase down the guy who shot him and get revenge, and he's like, well, I could do that, or I could remove the arrow
and help you out. Yeah.
He followed the tweet up with, "It's against the Simon Mall's code of conduct for anyone to carry a weapon inside the mall. However, Greenwood police are thankful that the man was."
Well, he didn't violate any laws.
By the way, we have some comments in our own YouTube comments where someone made the exact same argument. Really? I don't know if they're trolling.
There's a lot of trolls.
I hope that they are.
You can't
but
pay
they made the
attention
same
to the YouTube chat,
the
man.
same argument that this hero, this Samaritan, needs to be prosecuted
for what?
Because they were in a gun-free zone.
No,
breaking
it was
the
just
rules.
private property with a rule. That's the thing. Private property, the worst that Simon Malls can do is make a public statement to say, while we appreciate that the young man saved our customers' lives, we're banning him for life from all Simon Malls properties, which they're not going to do.
Right.
Because it would be incredibly stupid.
You would lose. This is Indiana we're talking about. You'd lose half of your customer base,
It'd be
probably.
Terrible, customer relations. Terrible public relations, so they're not going to do that.
It's also not against the law to violate someone's private property rules. So
Correct.
They have to ask you to leave.
That's it.
And then the police can no trespass you and all of that stuff. And,
if you don't leave.
Yeah, and then you're breaking the law, but the law you're
Correct.
breaking in that case is trespassing. You don't have to respect my private property rules in order to come onto my private property.
And
I think the extent of what I can do is ask you to leave.
And I think in most jurisdictions, well, I'm not sure. I'm not even sure what it is here in New Hampshire, but if someone's trespassing, I don't think you can just start shooting them or
no. You have to tell them to leave.
Have them arrested or start throwing rocks at them. You have to go ask them.
If you have a trespasser, you have to ask them to leave. A person who's authorized by the owner of the property, so a manager or whoever's in charge, can ask that person to leave. And if they do not leave, then the police can be brought in.
Right.
And the police, if they're good cops, or better cops, will give the person a chance to leave. And then they'll arrest them.
But still, back to your original questions, devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. We libertarians believe in private property, and so is it right to break bad laws? Is it right to go?
It's not
on
a law.
Say for example, you have a law in this house that you don't want to that we must take our shoes off at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This would be a rule, not a law.
And
though.
I'm like, man, I'm not taking my shoes off.
Well, then it's up to me to make the decision to talk to you about it,
right,
and enforce that rule.
But I knew before coming here this evening that was the rule, and I just was going to be a douche about it and just come stomping right up in here with muddy shoes, knowing the rules. But I mean,
what was that Dave Chappelle skit with the couch and the muddy shoes? I can't remember now.
Oh, the rapper, not the rapper, but the singer.
Rick James.
Rick James.
Yeah, that was
Rick
it.
James,
but that's just it. I'm the manager of the property, and I'm going to talk to you about it.
But I already know what the rules are before coming here, and I blatantly violate the rules.
Then you're getting kicked off the property if it's actually an important rule.
And insist on calling myself a libertarian to boot. I guess I'm not, right? But what if it's something more serious like this gun rules? Yeah. It's a gun-free zone, and it's and the pictures. The chat room says that there's actual signs on the mall doors that have.
I'm not going to take your
very obviously gun-free posters.
I would not take your libertarian card away from you for showing up and without following the rules. The only issue I would have would be is if I told you personally about it and then you continued to violate. I would then tell you are not welcome back here.
All right, I'm going to equate this walking into your house with shoes on, and I know that it's the rule against. Or maybe there's not a rule. Maybe it's just suggested, and I would be a bad human being if I walked into Ian's house without the shoes on, because I'm Rick James, bitch. The shopping cart scenario. The people who don't take the shopping cart back.
There's not even a sign that says you have to take it back.
There is none.
You're talking about to the pen where they have the pens?
I don't need the sign to know. In order to be a good human being,
sometimes
I need to take the stupid shopping cart back.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If it's close enough, fine, I'll do it. But if it's a couple aisles away or whatever, I'm just going to leave the cart where it's at. And I say this as someone who has collected carts in
right.
I worked for Kmart in Florida.
I have as well.
It didn't bother me.
Because it's job security.
Yeah, I just get to go further and I get to spend more time outside the store and collect more carts.
It's
I didn't
job
give a
security.
I always return my cart, but I mean, There's no sign. There's no request. They literally have people who are hired to do that. It's
Right.
just a courtesy.
But then we start getting into the realms of socialism. The reason why
How did we get from
this guy
returning
was
shopping carts to socialism, man?
Because the reason why this guy is a good Samaritan is because he went out of his way to help people in need. Whereas
well, his life was threatened too. Let's not overlook that.
The other option is socialism, where, you know what? No, I'm not getting involved in this. This is the cops' job security for the cops. I'm just going to wait and allow the cops to do their
I don't know
job.
if you could say that's socialism per se. That's just an authoritarian state. I mean, it could be socialist, it could be fascist.
Socialism is relying on the government taking care of all of your services, whether it be, we haven't gotten there yet, but
well, certainly they will ban guns under socialism. So yeah, you better believe that you'll be disarmed.
But that's where we're at in this country. It's the shopping cart scenario where more and more people, when they go out and to do their thing, they're like, nah, I'm not doing any of that because there's a service that I pay taxes for that already provide that service. I'm not going to why would I homeschool my kids? There's already a government indoctrination camp over there across the street that I can take my kids to, a daycare system.
The number here is 603-283-6160. Somebody in the Twitch chat is claiming that there is a law saying that if a private property has a no-gun sign and you carry, that's a breaking of the law. Well, the cops have discretion to not enforce the law. More coming up.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20, mymagicmud.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Phones are open here. You can join us. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can bring up whatever you want to discuss here on Free Talk Live. We're talking about private property rights and rules and whether it's okay to break those rules in certain circumstances.
Yeah, I would say if it's a law and it's a bad law, you are, in my book, required to break it.
As a good person, you're obligated.
As a good person, you're obligated.
Yeah, that's true.
Our founders said the same.
Now,
now, if it's a rule, it's a private property rule. We're on thin. Now we're on tricky ice right here. Where it's when do you break those rules? Obviously, this guy, he was right to break that rule.
Absolutely, saved lives by breaking that rule. I'm not saying flaunt it. Right? I'm not saying open carry into a place that has a rule against guns necessarily. So if there's a way that you can break a rule like that, like by concealed carrying, to where it's not obvious that you're breaking that rule, then you're not going to get talked to about it. And so therefore you should go relatively unmolested and undetected unless something actually happens where you do need to draw that gun, in which case you'll be damn glad that you did it, as will everyone around you, as this circumstance points out.
To back up what the Twitch chatter said about this being illegal in Indiana, he may be correct, because when Mississippi passed its constitutional concealed carry, it did include within the law something that allowed property owners to put up just this simple sign that said, you couldn't carry a gun within their premises or whatever. And that did make it illegal for people to do so.
Really?
Yes.
Well, they didn't enforce it.
Yeah. They didn't enforce it in Mississippi either. Because, how do you know if someone's concealed carrying in the first place?
Well,
right?
they knew in this case, and they could have charged him if this was actually a violation of the law, but they didn't. And
can you imagine arresting and charging this guy? Hey, you, how dare you save these people's lives?
That probably would have happened if it was New York City.
Think of what they were trying to throw at Kyle Rittenhouse, of him crossing state lines and the whole nine, and him being underage and the whole nine. They were trying to throw the book at him and get anything to stick. So yeah, I absolutely
I don't want to
believe.
compare the Kyle Rittenhouse to this guy, though.
I think there are some similarities, especially with the age and the fact that they were Kyle was Kyle in a gun-free zone? Everyone else was seen to be carrying. Maybe that would be a good question to ask.
I don't think that factored into that case.
Cal wanted to be a cop. I mean, that was his whole thing there. He wanted to be a cop, and he successfully, policed
this guy. Eli probably wants to be too. He looks kind of coppish, kind of like cop-like material.
He was just there with his girlfriend, though. He wasn't there to police them all. He wasn't moonlighting as a unpaid security guard or anything like that, like Cal Rittenhouse was doing that night. He was just there.
Yeah, the circumstances are pretty different. Let's go to your calls. You can bring up whatever you want. Dave Ridley is on the line here, calling from New Hampshire. Go ahead, Ridley.
Hey guys, I have a Lily Tang Williams update.
Lily Tang Williams is the lady who escaped from Red China, made the move to the United States, managed to get the hell out of that socialist, communist hellhole, and has made a better life for herself here and became a libertarian, migrating to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project, and she's now running for, I think, a U.S. representative against a bunch of other Republicans in a primary.
Yes, Congress in your district, I guess it's District 2 in New Hampshire, in the imperial race for the Imperial Congress. And so there was an article in the Keene Sentinel, maybe about a week ago, on that race. And so guess who they didn't mention?
Lily Tang Williams.
Of course.
So it's,
they don't mention us either unless we write our own letters to the editor and whatnot. Or have us, if a bunch of us libertarians are running, the local talk show who always has all of the candidates on, will never have us on because
they won't. They don't do profiles for primaries anymore. I think they did at one time, but the local newspaper will not profile primary local candidates. They just let the primary happen.
You get primaried out, and then they make a big deal about all of these, all of the everyone coming back basically to win back their seats, to regain their seats. It's a real show.
It's a scam.
Oh, and not to mention it's close to $30,000 to have a stupid election here in it's just our little population of 20,000.
And that still makes me so happy because it was me running for mayor last year that single-handedly caused Keene to spend that money on that primary.
Thanks, Arya.
You're welcome. Your tax dollars hard at work, man.
I know.
So what's up, Dave? What about it?
Well, I'm glad they ran the article because that gives me an excuse to call, at least an excuse to talk about her. I didn't have anything to call about today otherwise.
Did you call the local station that I'm talking about, call Dan and mention exactly what you just said, that they refused to our local paper that covers basically everything Keene related, refused to cover our potential congressperson?
Yeah, I already called the local station about it. Dan wasn't hosting that show that day. But I did get on the air about that.
And did you notice what was the response? Oh well,
really positive. They had a pair of substitute hosts or new hosts for all I know. I'd never heard these guys on before. But yeah, they were very receptive and wanted to talk and everything. I don't remember everything they said, but we just talked about the race.
Probably only respectful because they knew that it doesn't really matter. Now if Lily had an opportunity to actually win this race, that's when they come out of the woodworks and they start talking about how we're trying to destroy their sacred state and their democracy. Look at these well poisoners coming into our state.
Chinese spy. Hey, thanks, Dave, for the call tonight, man. Appreciate hearing from you.
So Lily is running as a libertarian?
No, she's running as a Republican. Yep. But she is a libertarian.
And they didn't mention her?
Apparently not.
That's bizarre.
Because she's anti-commie.
Just like in the same way they didn't talk about Ron Paul when he ran and got third place or whatever, second place in the vote on Fox News, and they just left the third place guy out.
They sure did,
She is super, super pro-gun, and she's super anti-communist.
I'm familiar with it. I just wasn't sure what party banner she was running under.
Yeah, she's an interesting character. Another interesting character, another Free Stater running for
anti-lizard. Anti-lizard at Kaufman.
Oh,
for Senate though, right?
He's interesting as well. In fact, he's got a cool bunch of ads that he's been doing, but he's actually running as a libertarian. I was going to tell you about Bruce Fenton, who's running for U.S. Senate here in New Hampshire.
Is he a dealership guy?
No. You're thinking of the car dealership chain out here.
Yeah.
There is a Fenton.
No relation.
No relation.
Okay.
This guy is a Free Stater. He moved here as part of the Free State Project. He moved up from the Boston area. He's the creator of the cryptocurrency called Ravencoin. So he's a real doer, mover, and a shaker in the world of crypto. And he put 85 Bitcoin of his own Bitcoin into this race.
Wow.
So he's self-funding his campaign. I don't know if he's asking for donations because I don't think he needs them. But he's put a few $1 million worth of Bitcoin into this race. And the media is actually covering him, which is interesting. They're actually interviewing him. They included
because
him.
He's paying for space, probably.
I don't know.
Is he also running as a libertarian?
No, he's running as a Republican for U.S. Senate. So if he gets through the primary, he will be up against Jeremy Kaufman, the Libertarian candidate.
Oh,
so that'll be interesting if that comes to pass.
That's good news. That gets it. Libertarians.
That's great.
But I don't want them running against each other.
I do. I want a Libertarian. I want a Republican. I want a Democrat. I want them all to be Free Staters.
Yeah,
that's the ideal situation.
In that case,
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. We're not there yet, but we get
2 out of 3 is pretty good.
That's pretty good. And we're not there yet because he's still got to beat like a huge field of Republican opponents, many of which have big names and big money behind them.
Yeah, but they don't have the big signs that he has
he's got some big
Cheshire
signs.
County.
Yeah, that's
true. That's what people go by. They're going to go in there and they're going to vote for the name that they're most familiar with, and that's going to be Fenton. I've noticed the signs, and I never heard of the guy.
He was in a debate where he just cleaned their clocks. They let him into a debate with some of these guys, and he just went off on these Republican authoritarians. I have not seen the whole debate. I just saw some clips, and they were pretty amazing. But the reason I brought him up is because he did a filibuster event in the last 36 hours or so, where he was trying to beat the world record for the longest filibuster. For listeners that don't know, that's when a senator gets up and they just talk and talk and talk, and they stay there, and they can, pass the baton to other senators to keep it going or whatever, and then that stops a thing from happening. It stops a vote from occurring in the U.S. Senate. And so I guess the previous record was set in the 1950s or something. I don't have the statistic in front of me, but it was only 24 hours.
Man, this whole system is stupid.
It is. It is. So he wanted to do his own filibuster, even though he's not a senator yet, just to see if he could go longer than the longest one. And he set up an event. I guess he rented a hotel room, and he had, a whole area that he had set up and a podium. And he was taking questions from people online and just answering people's questions and having phone conversations with people. And he went for well over 24 hours. I don't know if he stopped. He may still be going, but this morning he was at 30 hours, I think, or something like that. So Bruce Fenton has now set the new record for longest filibuster, even though he technically isn't a senator yet.
Good for him.
So I guess he was just kind of showing that
I want a
he's got what
useless
it takes.
Showing his stuff.
Yeah. All right, so there's more coming up here, and you can join us 603-283-6160. Hour number 2 is on the way. Whether you want to talk about private property rights, malls and such banning guns and people violating those restrictions and saving lives in the case of Indianapolis, you can join us here. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm William Denslow. Scorching temperatures have been seen across much of Europe, and wildfires are sweeping through parts of the continent. And the hottest day in the UK on record has now been officially recorded. Hundreds of firefighters have been battling blazes across London. Chris Jones reports from the capital.
It's officially the hottest it's ever been in the UK right now. A temperature of 39.1 degrees Celsius was recorded at around midday UK time in Surrey, just outside of southwest London. This follows the record for the hottest night ever, which was also recorded in Surrey at 25.8 degrees Celsius. Health experts have warned people to stay indoors where possible and not to make unnecessary journeys. They say the temperature could keep rising, and it's been reported that several people have already died because of the heatwave, including a 14-year-old boy in West London.
The US believes that Russia plans to annex more parts of Ukraine, using similar tactics seen with Crimea back in 2014. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says the operation is already in the works and that sham referendums could be held by September. This comes as Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska is in the US to meet her US counterpart Jill Biden and to address Congress. She's also met Secretary of State Antony Blinken as Ukraine seeks more aid for its response to Russia's invasion. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
The Ukrainian First Lady's visit to the US comes 4 months after her husband, President Volodymyr Zelensky, made a virtual speech to Congress calling for more military equipment. He received a standing ovation from US lawmakers. Olena Zelenska is expected to address Congress in person on Wednesday. Ms. Zelenska has no official role in the Ukrainian government, but Kyiv is keen to seek more military aid and political backing from the US.
People in Kansas will have to vote to decide on whether the right to abortion should remain protected under law in the state. A number of US states have already banned abortion since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The issue is getting a lot of attention during the primary elections ahead of November's congressional midterms. US correspondent Caroline Malone reports.
Voters in Kansas will be the first to decide for themselves if the right to abortion should remain constitutionally protected. On August 2nd, they'll go to the polls with the choice of removing a law that says personal autonomy is protected by the state's constitution's Bill of Rights.
And a US court has agreed to fast-track Twitter's lawsuit against Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO decided to walk away from a takeover of Twitter, claiming the company misrepresented how many spam accounts are on the platform. Twitter claims Musk breached their merger arrangement. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. As various parts of the world come under heat advisories this week, some new research is suggesting a link between climate change and insomnia. Researchers at the University of Copenhagen studied nearly 24 climate change models, and they're projecting that we will all lose between 50 and 58 hours of sleep each year if the Earth continues warming at its current level. That's because there's a direct link between the temperature in which you're sleeping and the depth of that sleep. Dr. Janet Neshwat is a medical director and GP at CityMD in New York.
Anywhere between 68 and 72 degrees is where most people like to sleep. But you don't want it to be too hot. That definitely can interfere with your sleep and wake you up in the middle of the night. Don't lay in bed on your cell phone at nighttime when you're trying to fall asleep. Don't watch TV or sleep with the television on. All these little things together can help improve your sleep and help get you to sleep and keep you asleep.
Research shows sleep loss is 3 times higher in summer than it is in winter, which is one of the reasons why the researchers in Denmark believe that global warming is poised to have such an impact on our ability to rest. They say in the last 20 years, people have already lost around 44 hours or 6 full nights of sleep each year as a result of global warming. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
FSN is an independent source of news for TV, radio and digital networks worldwide. You can find more of our minute-by-minute updates on Twitter. Follow us there at Feature Story. And we have a wealth of audio and video stories from our global news bureaus on Facebook. You can find us there by following Feature Story News. Stay tuned for further updates right here. But for now, that's the latest Feature Story News. William Denzelo reports.
It's The Onion Radio News. A family of 5 is found alive in the suburbs. This is Doyle Redland reporting. The Holzapfel family, long feared missing or spiritually dead, was found alive in the Chicago suburb of Buffalo Grove today, somehow managing to survive in the hostile environment for more than 8 years. Rescuers discovered the 5-person clan after a survey plane spotted a signal fire from a barbecue grill. To protect themselves from the elements during their long ordeal, the Holzapfels fashioned a 3-bedroom ranch-style lean-to with brick facing and white aluminum siding. Paramedic Mary Gill was first on the scene.
They were all suffering from severe cultural malnutrition.
The Holzapfels have been returned to civilization for now, though trips to the Art Institute of Chicago and a nice Peruvian restaurant intended to reacquaint them with urban living have been met with confusion and resistance. Doyle Redland for The Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the second hour of the program. Phones are open as always, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You're still welcome to comment on the shooting in Indianapolis, which was stopped quickly by a heroic young man with a concealed carried gun that he was concealing against the rules of the property. Led to an interesting discussion about property rights. You're welcome to call in and comment. 603-283-6160. Here tonight, it's Ian,
Aria,
and Conan.
We're going to go to your calls and thoughts. Then, Aria, you want to tell us what the latest is from the military recruiting. Are they having
it's
a tough
an article
time?
from Military Times, one of my favorite news sources.
We'll get into that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we go to Olivia on the line in Arizona. Go ahead, Olivia.
Hey, I had a few thoughts about the different things you've talked about tonight. So, Ian, you made a great point about carrying a gun. You know, just like if you're going to nullify on a jury, you don't go into jury duty telling everyone, oh, by the way, I'm going to nullify this if the law is stupid. You just keep that in your pocket, and you pull that out if the situation calls for it, just like a gun, you know?
Yeah.
And as far as shopping carts go, I'm really lucky to work at a store called Ross. Dress for Less. It's like a nice discount store.
Sure.
And they have a really neat policy. Like, I love working there. One reason is that you don't have to go collect the carts because they have this long pole on them that if you try to leave with the cart, it'll like bump the top of the door. And so people can't take the carts out. I mean, they could if they really wanted to. But
You can't even, what you're saying is you can't even leave the store with the cart.
How do you get your groceries to your car, though?
It's a clothing store.
How do you get your clothing to your car?
Oh, you can pull, like if you buy like a large piece of furniture or a really big rug or something, you just pull up to the door and we help you load it, and then you drive off.
You know who does it right?
Aldi's.
Aldi. They have a system where you insert a quarter into the cart itself, and you unlock it, and you can use the cart basically anywhere you want. But if you want your quarter back, you've got to take it back to the cart.
And
the
the kind
cart
of people
line.
that shop at Aldi are looking to cut, costs, so they want that quarterback.
Everything about Aldi is so good. The
See, I still
scanners are
haven't
so
actually gone
fast.
yet.
I mean, they are so fast. It is amazing.
They are fast.
I'll go to one of the other competing stores to get something because Aldi only carries like the basics. So if I want some tahini or something, I got to go to another store. And I'm standing in line, and there's old people, there's old cashiers, and it's like, come on, man. And then I go to Aldi's, and it's like lightning quick. And I'm like,
we got like 3 bags of food at the Hannaford, which is the more higher end grocer here, more normal, I guess, grocer compared to Aldi, which is a discount. And we paid like twice as much for what we would have paid for 3 bags of groceries at Aldi. You've never been?
I can't believe you, Aria.
I don't do a whole lot of grocery shop. I do now.
Can I tell you what you're not going to see in the Aldi parking lot? Loose carts, loose Aldi carts.
Every now and then.
I've never seen one time, and you know what I did? I got that card.
Hell yeah!
Got my quarter. I got someone else's quarter.
Well, that's the thing. Aldi incentivizes customers to return carts. They don't have a person returning carts because, as you point out, the people who go to the store are incentivized to do it.
Yeah. By the way, the cashiers do everything. They stock. They work in the back, and they run the registers. It's just
they're timed, by the way. There's a Free Stater who moved here. She got a job at Aldi, and she came to a recent meetup and was telling us about it. We were asking her questions about what she's doing.
Yeah.
And she says she's brand new, but she's managed to make the minimum cut or whatever because they time those. Those cashiers.
I'm glad they do
too.
too.
A certain number of scanning every minute.
When I worked at Walmart for almost a decade ago, I was always extremely proud of my scans per minute. And I wasn't even the cashier, but I would go up there and I would get to because I was there and I was proud of my numbers, my data, and my stats, and I would beat out the regulars and then of course get the nose. But anyways, Livia, Aldi's is hiring.
I haven't been to an Aldi's either. I have to admit that, but I really called about pets in stores, right? So.
Mongrels, dirty, stinky, drippy mongrels.
How dare you say that about my dog? She's so sweet.
Not everyone's dog is sweet.
Mine is.
Go ahead, Olivia.
So I've had a lot of experience with that because Ross is pet friendly, and people will bring in not only dogs, but I've seen people bring in cats cats on leashes, even a bird one time in a backpack, like a clear backpack that's designed for birds. But I have to tell you this, right? So you're complaining about the dogs like messing up. I've never had to clean up after a dog.
I have.
Store, and I've worked there for years. But I have had to clean up after people. People will throw up on the floor. People will not flush the toilet. They will smear stuff. It'll splatter everywhere. It's disgusting. And it reminds me of this meme.
That's enough description. Thank you.
I've heard the stories, by the way, having known plenty of people over my time that luckily I didn't have to clean the bathrooms when I was in retail, but having known, girlfriends or whatever that have, and they always say the women's bathrooms are the worst.
That? What's up with that?
I don't know, man. It's gross. People, I won't even go into it. But
please don't.
Is it some kind of reverse projecting where they spend all their days cleaning their own bathrooms and having it all tidy and neat?
I don't
and then
know.
they go out into public and they're like, screw this place. They take it out on the bathrooms?
I've never heard a good explanation besides the fact that women do the hovering thing, and maybe that's a factor, but I don't know. Is this what, like Aria says, we can't get too detailed, gory with the details on this, but has that been your experience? Have you had to clean the men's restroom at Ross versus the women's restroom, and have you found the women's restroom is worse?
I never had to clean the men's restroom, but the women's restroom can be really bad.
Yep.
And I just, sometimes people use the bathroom in the sitting rooms as well. They'll just use the sitting room as a bath. It's disgusting.
Oh my God.
Funny? Yeah, it's like.
Where do you live? Out in Arizona, right? Yeah, I told you, man. It's the desert sun out there cooking people's brains. And
I don't
making them
think
stupid.
so, Aria. I think you're going to encounter this kind of behavior when you're dealing with the
everywhere.
public.
Texas happens. It happens in Texas too. But I wanted to read this meme from a hotel. It said, "Dogs are welcome in this hotel. We never had a dog that smoked in bed and set fire to the blankets. We never had a dog that stole our towels and played the TV too loud, or had a noisy fight with his traveling companion. We never had a dog that got drunk and broke up the furniture. So if your dog can vouch for you, you're welcome too."
That's cute.
The management.
Okay, let me just tell you. My parents rent. I think they rent homes out, and I was there for a couple of years, and I would help them whenever during the transfer, the changeover.
So you had to clean up.
We had to clean up after renters.
God.
And I'm going to tell you what.
It's awful.
There's a reason why some landlords do not allow pets into their homes, because the cat and dogs will do so much damage to a home. I'm serious, so much. It's like, I can't believe I had to pay an $800 deposit fee.
That doesn't even cover it.
That doesn't cover it, dude. It doesn't cover it. We had to replace all of the carpet in the house because your dumbass dog or your cat that pissed everywhere.
Yeah,
$800 doesn't cover it.
Well, sure doesn't. I've been through it, man. It sucks. Olivia, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I'll just say it's really nice when people bring their pets. I've only seen well-behaved pets, and it'll really bring out the best of like the people around me, because it's really funny. Like all the people that work there will flock to a cute puppy or kitty. I've seen cats walked on leashes, and everyone will congregate around the customer, and they'll be really nice and let us pet it and stuff. And the managers will just watch and kind of smile too, because everyone I don't know, it kind of brings this sense of community, and I don't know, it's just kind of gives you the warm fuzzies.
Thanks, Olivia, for the call tonight. Definitely appreciate hearing from you. The number is 603-283-6160.
They just piss me off. So.
Well, I mean,
I know what it is. I just figured it out.
They have store cats here in the Northeast, and I mean, I can't imagine being so miserable that having a random cat in the store with you doesn't brighten your day, right? I mean, that's bound to be one of the few things that should be able to make everyone on the planet happy. Is, oh, look, here's a kitty.
Yep, and I agree with that, but I am a cat person. But I just realized how I hate dogs so much, and that's because I'm the male guy. I got to deal with nasty dogs all the time, especially on Sundays.
How many times you had to pepper spray a dog?
I never, but I've been bitten once. Oof. But I almost got bit last Sunday by a dog that I had never seen before.
Do you carry pepper spray or anything?
Pit bull, a friggin' pit bull.
You carry spray or anything like that?
Yeah, but it's in the wrong vehicle. But as far as the store cats, yeah. But I mean, these are carpet. Are their stores carpeted? Usually they got the easy to clean floors. And yes, I would admit, every store that has a cat, I will frequent those stores, and I'll go walking around the store looking for the cat before I start looking for what I need to buy.
All right, there's more coming up here, and you can join us. The number is 603-283-6160. We're going to get into military recruiting difficulties coming up on Free Talk Live.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here, whether you want to talk about retail work experiences. We kind of got into a little bit about bad customers versus bad dogs. The number is 603.
Usually, they're one and the same.
Of course. Almost every time a bad dog is going to have a bad owner.
Yeah, I think you can tell a lot by a mean, nasty dog.
Yep.
Is a good chance that customer is that owner is also a mean, nasty person deep down inside.
Person. I don't think dogs are born bad. I don't believe that. I mean, maybe somebody out there will make that claim, but I don't think so.
I mean, I suppose a dog could be born bad in the same way that a human can be born, as a psychopath or whatever.
A bad apple, if you will.
Like just something glitched in their brain. But I imagine
99.9% of them, it's the human.
It's probably very, very rare.
Well, dogs are pack animals, and they will, they evolve, and they will evolve according to their pack.
Sure.
Which is probably just, mom, dad, and maybe some kids.
Right.
And
that's why my golden retriever is so cat-like, though, because
there's more cats in the house than dogs, and
I mean,
it's like the one boy growing up in a house full of women.
Yeah, I'm the only human that she hangs out with regularly. Otherwise, she's hanging out with 3 cats, and that's how she thinks she's supposed to play now, is to go up and start trying to claw at people. She's so confused about how to be a dog.
Well, I can tell you one thing about dog people: nasty dogs, aggressive dogs, and biting dogs. I've been bitten once, and at least two other of my coworkers have also been bitten in the last 12 months.
You work for the post office.
I work for the post office. The one thing that every single one of these, and I've dealt with a lot of aggressive dogs like every day.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are these dogs that I've never seen. They're either new dogs, or they're taking care of someone else's dog, or it's just a dog that's just been in the backyard and they just let him out one day. And the one thing I can say that all of these customers with aggressive, nasty dog biters or biting dogs have in common is they never, ever apologize or even admit when I've been bitten, and the customers didn't even say sorry.
Wow, and they were there. They saw it.
They saw it. I saw it happen. And this has happened to, I asked it of the last girl that got bit. The owners wouldn't even admit. They tried to say that she was lying. She's sitting there bleeding down her leg, and the cops got involved, and they would not admit that their dog bit her.
Wow.
And they have never apologized. Guess who's not getting packages, by the way?
Right? Trashy
customers. There's not a whole lot of you guys out there. You're not listening to this show, I know. Good people.
So what do you do when
show.
that happens? You stop delivering their packages and make them go pick them up from the post office?
Exactly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
The number is 603-283-6160. Bitcoin.com, great source for learning about cryptocurrency. If you're ready to start learning about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, get on over to Bitcoin.com and click Get Started at the top of the page. They will give you some introductory videos. You got to get some of these basic concepts down about decentralized currency. What is it that makes it special? Why do you need to care about it? They'll help you with that. Why is it so amazing? Why are so many people so interested in this? Why is it worth over $20,000 per Bitcoin right now? And no, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy a fraction of it.
Yeah, but it's getting to that point where you kind of can after you put a little savings.
A lot of savings. Go to Bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page. Although it's been going up a little bit in the last few days.
It's gone up at least 1,000. Yeah, is it 23 now?
I think it scraped it. I don't know if it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's just look at the data, guys. I mean, it's like every 2.5, 3 years.
23.4 right now.
It falls. And then it goes right back up and keeps on going.
Sometimes it takes it a few years to go back up.
Yeah, it hit the $23,000 mark or whatever last time, and then it fell back down to like $8,000 for like a few years.
Couple years, yeah. Anyway, Bitcoin.com, you got to learn about it first. So click Get Started at the top of the page. If you're not brand new to crypto and you want to get the latest headlines, just head over to news.bitcoin.com. They got them for you there. Of course, you can buy cryptos through Bitcoin.com and so many other cool features. It's all over there at Bitcoin.com. We continue here. Aria, you wanted to get into the military, U.S. military having trouble recruiting. We've talked before about how police departments have been having trouble recruiting for the last several years in the United States because, well, a lot of people don't want to be oppressing their neighbors, and they've seen the police as being these less than popular characters in their community in a lot of ways.
Yeah, wife beaters.
Well, then there's that too. And I suspect all of that factors into why people don't want those jobs. But what about the military? They've been offering like bonuses and all kinds of deals for a long time.
Well, according to Military Times, a survey raises serious questions about the future of the all-volunteer force. And that was why I clicked this article, because it makes it sound like, they
bring back the draft.
Yes. The results of a new survey, but that won't fix the problems that they're dealing with, I don't think. The results of a new survey of military and veterans and spouses, including details on financial difficulties, raised concerns about the future of the military, said the executive director of the organization that conducted the survey. Fewer military veterans and spouses are likely to recommend military service, according to the findings, and the reasons are related to their own well-being. At the end of the day, families are having a hard time making ends meet, and that's affecting their overall well-being.
Yeah.
The lady said.
Not to mention, I think some people are starting to think World War III might be right around the corner, and this is probably a really bad time to be in the military.
Well, yeah.
Whereas
20
20 years ago when you're paying off your college debt, and the military is
20
promising
years
to do
ago
it.
that they got shipped off to Afghanistan and Iraq, and like the one National Guard troop out of Illinois, I believe, the Army Reserve crew. They were supposed to stay there for 365 days to qualify for their college scholarship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They were brought back on day 364. And the government repeatedly did this. So 20 years ago was not a good time to join the military.
I've never heard anything
they
like
all
this.
got screwed over.
I would have heard these horror stories.
They all got screwed. This was my generation. They all got screwed over. Almost not, and if they didn't get screwed over that way, they came back missing limbs,
right? Well, or PTSD or whatever, and now
it was actually older than my generation.
I think this, the same generation, the same family members that tell you not to get into the police or the military are the same ones who are starting to think about, you know what? I think that college thing was a whole scam.
Good,
yeah.
And so there is an awakening. There's definitely an awakening. We've been fed a lot of scams forever and ever. And I think a lot of them are coming to head. They're people are seeing through the cracks, and they're like, you know what? Nah, this isn't working. What are we at? Almost $30 trillion in debt.
That said, there was that story that I think we covered last week or a couple weeks ago, about the Americans' belief in certain institutions, and the military was the second most popular institution.
Sadly,
under small business. So I think we got a ways to go. But if they're having trouble recruiting, that does mean when it comes down to it, they're not getting what they're looking for, which is people, bodies to send over and die.
But it's 2022. Do they even need bodies any longer?
Because robots are coming.
Because drones are already here. Robots are next. You see these robot dogs running.
They're scary.
Straight Terminator 2 robot dogs.
You can't knock them over, and they're mount a gun to them,
and do we need a huge worldwide culling of human life via armaments, or are they doing it in other ways now?
Via vaccines,
via feeding us filth, feeding us crap.
They're already lining up in New York City for the new monkeypox vaccine. Have you seen those pictures?
Is it a new vaccine? Because I
don't know if it's new, but they're lining up for it.
Yeah, I thought the monkeypox vaccine was a classic vaccine, and it's been around for
I think
decades.
It's like the smallpox vaccine, right? It's the same thing.
I don't know.
People are ready to roll up their sleeves for another one. That's
I know
for sure.
the elites are always looking for ways to take out parts of the population, and it's always been war. But do they need war anymore?
It's a good question. The number here is 603-283-6160. More from the Military Times. Coming up here in moments on military recruiting difficulties, which is not a new thing. They've been having trouble for a while.
Years
on this. So we'll hear what the latest is. Coming up, you can join us as well on Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm William Denslow. Scorching temperatures have been seen across much of Europe, and wildfires are sweeping through parts of the continent. And the hottest day in the UK on record has now been officially recorded. Hundreds of firefighters have been battling blazes across London. Chris Jones reports from the capital.
It's officially the hottest it's ever been in the UK right now. A temperature of 39.1 degrees Celsius was recorded at around midday UK time in Surrey, just outside of southwest London. This follows the record for the hottest night ever, which was also recorded in Surrey at 25.8 degrees Celsius. Health experts have warned people to stay indoors where possible and not to make unnecessary journeys. They say the temperature could keep keep rising, and it's been reported that several people have already died because of the heatwave, including a 14-year-old boy in West London.
The US believes that Russia plans to annex more parts of Ukraine, using similar tactics seen with Crimea back in 2014. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says the operation is already in the works, and that sham referendums could be held by September. This comes as Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska is in the US to meet her US counterpart Jill Biden and to address Congress. She's also met Secretary of State Antony Blinken as Ukraine seeks more aid for its response to Russia's invasion. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
The Ukrainian First Lady's visit to the US comes 4 months after her husband, President Volodymyr Zelensky, made a virtual speech to Congress, calling for more military equipment. He received a standing ovation from US lawmakers. Olena Zelenska is expected to address Congress in person on Wednesday. Ms. Zelenska has no official role in the Ukrainian government, but Kyiv is keen to seek more military aid and political backing from the US.
People in Kansas will have to vote to decide on whether the right to abortion should remain protected under law in the state. A number of US states have already banned abortion since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The issue is getting a lot of attention during the primary elections ahead of November's congressional midterms. US correspondent Caroline Malone reports.
Voters in Kansas will be the first to decide for themselves if the right to abortion should remain constitutionally protected. On August 2nd, they'll go to the polls with the choice of removing a law that says personal autonomy is protected by the state's constitution's Bill of Rights.
And a US court has agreed to fast-track Twitter's lawsuit against Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO decided to walk away from a takeover of Twitter, claiming the company misrepresented how many spam accounts are on the platform. Twitter claims Musk breached their merger arrangement. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can join us by bringing up whatever's on your mind. Just dial in here at 603-283-6160. As the military continues to have difficulty recruiting people to die for the government. Weird. We'll get into that here.
Not for the government, Ian, for your country.
Oh, yeah, for freedom.
For freedom. Because freedom's not free.
That's the propaganda, but that's not
they tell
true.
You, that's on the sign. The recruiters who go to your high schools, that's the sign on the table where they're sitting there with all the bonuses they're going to get you and all the the recognition and the whole nine.
What worked on you? You were in the military,
I come from a military family, first of all.
So you're prepped
So my granddad was huge into it. And, of course, like every one of my aunts and uncles on my dad's side are military. Some of them are still military.
So you got propagandized from birth.
Basically. Oh, absolutely. And I was a Boy Scout and, the whole nine. No, I knocked my girlfriend up real early on.
That will do it.
I had a kid on the way. I didn't have. I had a dead end job that I was working that would not have paid the bills, and I just said, you know what? All the rest of my family did it. Why not?
As well.
And I got in, and I got out just in time too. I got it right before the let's go invade some more brown people in sandy countries. But a lot of my friends did get called back. Because when I got out, I was still inactive. I was still inactive for 4 years, and this is 9/11 period.
Yeah, you got lucky,
and I lucked out.
Wow.
Because I single parent with a kid, and that would have been very bad for me. But no, it was just it was family propaganda for sure. Because it really wasn't. I don't ever remember any recruiters at my school.
They must have been there.
They were all over my school.
That was a real small
this
school,
festival
though.
that I just went to was sponsored in part by the U.S. Army. I didn't see that coming. They even had a little booth set up there, way in the back, right? That no one ever visited. But
wow.
They
you better believe that $700+ billion military budget. They're spending it at schools, and they're spending it for flyovers over football
games. Remember they came out with the Army video game like a decade back? Or
every Call of Duty game is essentially an advertisement for the U.S. military.
Sure.
Yeah, they spend a lot of money on advertisement, and it's starting to kind of suck. They're not really doing it these days.
Aren't they going woke?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Then they'll play the Russian propaganda, military propaganda, right next to the woke.
Yeah, and it's like
U.S.
night and day.
It's like I'm not going to go join this pansy ass military. I want. This is not what my granddad talked about. Crawling through the sand, under the barbed wire and getting shot at. What is this?
What do you mean the military ads are going woke? Because I haven't seen any of these.
Oh, you haven't heard about that?
No.
There's one where it's like a woman talking about how
her same-sex parents and this, yeah.
And there's this whole thing with showing how woke the U.S. Army or whichever branch it is.
It's not about killing your enemy. It's about feelings.
Yeah.
And it's like, but this is not what.
Meanwhile, and I've seen exactly what you're talking about, where they juxtapose the Russian propaganda versus the American, and it's like
ours was like 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's showing the tough Russian dudes crawling through the mud and getting all the stuff that you would expect a military ad to be, and then over in the United States, it's like, well, here's how we're accepting of all people in the military. Everyone can kill for us in the U.S. military.
But you know what? We really don't need to crawl through the mud anymore. Because we got that kid, robots. we got that 18-year-old who grew up playing Call of Duty, who's in a bunker in the desert, and that's not on Google Maps, and he's just flying drones all day. Of course, he's getting PTSD. And at the end of his 4 years, he's saying, you know what? All I did was fly missiles in the school buses and churches and hospitals.
That's the thing, man. It becomes so much like a video game to them that it doesn't cause PTSD. Just like playing Call of Duty for 8 hours a day won't cause PTSD.
Yeah, what we're dealing.
It's just a video game to them.
If you guys haven't read Ender's Game, that's the level that we're at right now. We're developing a soldier that doesn't even know what's really going on. He has not made the connection with life, his missile, his drone, human life, and the controller in his hands.
Scary.
Because he's not in the midst of it anymore. And I've heard stories of the soldiers in Vietnam who would intentionally not, especially the really, really young ones, they would shoot over the tops up into the trees of their enemy because they didn't want to go there.
Wow.
Because there's a human on the other side of that hill, a real human.
And they were drafted, so they're not the psychos who wanted to go kill people.
Exactly. And they intentionally shot over the heads because they didn't want to go there and cross that line. Because that is, seriously, some people can't go back after that.
On the subject of military advertising, though, I'd rather them, be woke and whatever. I'd rather them be unappealing to the kinds of people who want to go commit murder, right? Like, I didn't care for, Godsmack and all of these other rock bands having their music used for, U.S. Navy commercials or whatever. They pumped people up. They got people excited about joining. Why the hell would you want military advertisements to be like that?
This is where we've gone. We've gone from these...
We haven't gone anywhere. The U.S. government has, and for all I care, they could fall off a cliff.
They've made the decision to go here.
Good.
So now,
let it be as ineffective as it can be.
Who's the sniper who's basically a psychopath who wrote the book? They made movies about
the American Sniper guy?
Yeah, he's
Chris something, I think.
Anyways, that's what they were going for. That's what they were looking for. Now they're going for the person who's driving a stinking mom van with Coexist on the back window. That they're going for a whole nother. I mean,
it's
what it's worth, at least they were going for killers, and now they're trying to draft
people who aren't even killers. That's perfect.
Exactly. They're trying to recruit everybody now.
Good.
They're scraping the bottom of. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Because that's what they have to do.
I see no issue with the U.S. military sucking.
I agree with you.
To me, that's a feature.
Well, I'll tell you what. When you consider that we're spending more, our military is spending more than what the whole rest of the world combined, military-wise.
That's been the case for a long time, though.
Yeah.
Well, what other troubles are they running into, Arya, that you wanted to share here?
Well, according to Shannon Razadin, who is the president of the Military Family Advisor Network, which is the place that did the survey, we see the connection between well-being and loneliness, well-being and housing, well-being and food security. When you layer that on the top of the fact that fewer people are likely to recommend military service, it paints a very clear picture of concern relating to the future. This is the fourth survey they've done, and evidently the number of people who would recommend military life has fallen from 74% to 62% in 2021.
Okay. Still too many.
Yeah, they didn't give a lot of really boring numbers, but she talks about how it was troubling It was just the fact that families don't like the military life and how it feels for them. Based on their answers, the reasons were related to frequent separations and the fact that military life is not conducive to family life. How bizarre. Noting that the fact that the survey was conducted on the heels of the U.S. military's exit from Afghanistan didn't show up in the findings.
Well, I know that Bonnie, my girlfriend, she grew up what they call an army brat, I guess.
Yep.
Kids in the parents.
Yeah, that makes sense. I put two and two together. I see that.
And she's never in the same place for very long. They're always moving around. You don't get to make connections with local people or anything like that. You only get to connect with people that are on the military base, and then some number of months or years later, you're on another military base. I mean, that's got to be tough.
It's also expensive, right? Out of all of those people who recently experienced a permanent change of station, they had negative or very negative experiences with the reimbursement of moving costs. The effects,
so the military screwing their own people while they're working for them.
Yeah, 40% of people reported that issue. 38% reported effects on spouse employment. Obviously your spouse has to get a new job or transfer or whatever.
Right, and usually that means working on the military base at some
and the cost
grocery store.
They all work at the commissary.
Yeah.
And the cost of living could go up in your new place, or it could go down, which I guess would be an okay thing. But, if it goes up, you're not getting more money to, be stationed in New York City versus being stationed in Iowa.
Sure.
So there's a lot of good reasons. Housing costs, of course, are up.
I don't think there's a military base in New York City. But,
your housing and your food are it's dependent on your location.
Okay.
So you will be paid more according to where you're at.
Oh, they will adjust it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Out of those people who lived in privatized housing, only 64% said the condition of their housing has changed. 8%, however, said they had gotten worse. And 28% said conditions have gotten better. So the housing situation, I mean, they go into a bunch of numbers here that aren't overly interesting.
But the important part is that fewer people are recommending this experience to others.
And that's a good thing in my opinion.
Matters. There's more coming up here. The number 603-283-6160, and you can share your thoughts. Maybe you've been in the military and you can weigh in. It's Free Talk Live.
There is no such thing as attention span, according to Jerry Seinfeld, who figures that people have an infinite attention span if you are entertaining them. Hey, he's kept us from channel surfing for several decades, and now he's making more millions as a Las Vegas headliner. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're looking for work. So choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Avoid redundancies such as added bonus, advance warning, end result, prior history, or personal belongings. And avoid cliches like the plague. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without my Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
No, I can understand the time cue, but what I know is wiser than anything else. Like God created one day, I've created 4 simultaneous days in one rotation of Earth.
At what point did you become the wisest human, Gene Ray?
Well, I've learned everything. When you know everything, there's nothing to know.
Okay, well, now, you said you're getting ready to write a book on it. When can we expect to see it?
No, I don't have a publisher yet. A lot of morning touch it. And so...
you touch it in the morning?
Well, sometimes, not much.
Yeah. How old are you, Dr. Gene Ray?
I'm 78. Well, I told this black lady down in St. Pete, I said, when you die, you're going to come back as a white person. I said, I'm going to come back as a black person. I'm going to hate you honkies.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us. Your thoughts on the military recruiting situation, if you want to jump in, maybe you want to talk about your experience and why you wouldn't recommend the military anymore, because a lot of people, more than, I don't know if it's ever, but more than in many recent years, are no longer recommending military service to their loved ones and their friends, according to the poll that you were sharing with us, Aria. With you tonight, it is Ian. Aria.
And Conan.
And want to say thank you to Ron Dinion, who is a Free Talk Live Silver supporter of our AMPS program. Ron is contributing about $5 a month to the AMPS, that stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. It's a way for you to help us continue this mission of spreading the ideas of freedom as far and as wide as possible, and as many radio stations as possible. And you get some cool benefits too when you join over at amps.freetalklive.com. That takes you right over to our Patreon page. That's amps.freetalklive.com. As we go to your calls and thoughts, Rudy is on the line in Arizona listening to K-Talks. Go ahead, Rudy.
Hey guys, everybody.
What's on your mind?
Back it was probably 2005, 2006, with the Bush military authorization bill, they slipped in there that that you had to, if you took federal money, which every school does, you had to allow the recruiters to go and talk to your classes. I think it was down to the 7th grade.
Yep.
And
jeez,
you had to do that. And the American people, we fought like hell for months and months trying to get it taken out, but it stayed. So every kid gets indoctrinated by the guy in the uniform. And a couple more things. You know, all the casualties in Iraq and like Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was over 40% of those were from National Guard. Remember when they were pulling up people from every National Guard unit in the country? Yeah, because before we went into Iraq, there was a head honcho in the military going before Congress, and he said, "We don't have the troops. You know, we've got like 90,000 people in Afghanistan right now, and to go into Iraq, we're going to need so many, 200,000 more troops." And they basically got rid of him because he said that. And that's when they started just bringing people in from the National Guard.
The weekend warriors.
Yep.
And one more thing, I know two people that signed up so they could get their citizenship. One was a Vietnamese guy that did my wife's nails. The other guy was a Guatemalan guy that was a tire jockey, and they got killed.
Jeez.
And last point, when Trump was in there, like to say, they give you can become an American citizen. When Trump was president, he got rid of 160,000 people that joined the military to get their citizenship. He let them go before they had their commitment done so they didn't get their citizenship.
Wow.
There you go, Aria.
They constantly renege on their promises. I mean, it's the government, right?
Yeah.
We've heard about these things. I mean, we've known for years about how they screw veterans over, right? And the Veterans Administration is giving them bad care and just killing them, basically. There's been stories about that forever.
It's your government provided health care right there. That's why it won't. That's our canary in the coal mine right there. Take note.
What's the name of the main hospital for the vets in Washington, D.C.?
Something VA.
There was a reporter went through there. It was incredible how deplorable it was. I mean,
and imagine that some people out there still want government-run health care in the United States, even after seeing the VA. You would expect, the VA to be the best medical care. I would expect. Well, no, it's not. I would expect the U.S. government to do everything they could to take care of, the people who went out there and fought and bled and possibly died for the U.S. government. Instead, they get treated like crap.
Well, I'll tell you what. You retire from the military. You guys, even enlisted, especially you officers, though. They get big fat pensions.
If you dedicate your life to the U.S. government, I imagine they will take it. And you survive.
And you survive. That's where they get you. But I mean, I have bros who got in when I was in, but stayed in, already retired, young 40-year-olds who are gone off and got another job.
Sure.
So they're living off this. They're double dipping. Yeah, they get these fat pensions.
And they're probably working for the government too, right?
Military usually does just that. They go do
they're welfare whores.
Contractor jobs, fixing equipment, and the whole nine. Go
ahead, Rudy.
The prosperity that the United States went through in the 50s and 60s, that was directly related to the GI Bill. The people that fought in World War II, we had a real good GI Bill, which basically we paid people to go to school. And boom, I mean, for every dollar that we put into their education, we got $7 back. It was the greatest, it raised our ability to make money. That's why we ran the world for a couple of decades.
Yeah, back when college was worth going to. It's not that way anymore. Guess what degree I got when using my GI Bill? I got a liberal arts degree.
Useless.
A useless basket weaving degree.
Thanks, Rudy, for the call tonight. Appreciate hearing from you. The number is 603-283-6160. One of the other things I've heard that they do with people that have been effed up in the head, like they didn't lose limbs or whatever, but they just got
PTSD.
Whether it's PTSD or some other
actual physically
suffering,
knocked in the head. Yeah.
They will deny them coverage at the VA because they'll say, "Oh, well, you didn't get that from the military. You were crazy before you joined the military, so we don't have to cover that."
Maybe some of them.
Yeah, well, maybe, but for all the talk about taking care of their veterans, there's a lot of them that they just get kicked to the curb.
And those are the guys that are living in the woods underneath
under
the bridge.
A piece of cardboard or something.
Yeah. I've met those guys before.
What is
by
the
way.
percentage? I don't recall now of homeless people in the United States who are former veterans. It's fairly high.
I bet it's high, but I don't know.
And the number of veterans who commit suicide is also fairly high.
Yes,
of course, if you're sitting at the off ramp or the enter ramp and you're looking for someone to give you $1 or some food, the best way to do it is say that you're a veteran. So I'm wondering how many of them are. What is the word?
Stolen valor.
Stolen valor. Yeah.
They pretend.
There's no valor in joining the U.S. military, though.
Let's go to Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh.
Wow, she didn't start with yes.
She's so caught off guard, though.
That, did you know that Iran's going to help Russians with launching out drones from their side to launch drones to shoot at the Ukrainians?
All right.
So are you guys surprised with the Iranians? Because I was watching the Rick Steve travel shows like I do, and it turns out that their oil was nationalized for maybe a decade or so. So nationalized means socialized, which means communism.
Whose oil? Iran?
Yeah, that's right. Wasn't there I forgot his name. There was a prince that was selling the Iranian oils to the
So wait,
American
it's not
oil
nationalized now, but it was in the past?
Yes, it was. So, in other words,
does Iran have princes? I thought they had the Ayatollah and the president.
Not sure.
Well, I mean, was it that guy that prince
that guy?
Over and then that and then what happened? And then he had business with the U.S. oil companies, and then he lived high off the hog.
What the hell are you talking about, Sarah?
No idea.
That guy with the thing on his head.
I think she's talking about the Saudi Arabian royal family, which does have princes and stuff like that. Or, I mean, she could be talking about half a dozen
She's
Middle
talking about
Eastern.
Iran, and Iran does apparently have a president, according to Wikipedia.
I thought
but what's
so.
the point of your call?
I mean, yeah, if they're launching drones from Iran, my government has been telling me for years and years and years that Iran is my enemy. I mean, they're not, but I mean, I've been told that, and now they're telling me that Russia's my enemy. They're not, but I guess they are. So, I mean, of course they're going to work together.
Yeah, it's weird. The U.S. government made enemies out of Iran and Russia, and now those enemies are working together.
And if they want to get North Korea in there too, you know what? I would not be surprised, and I'm not going to be mad about it either.
They can be the new axis of evil, as Bush called them back in 2003.
But what's the point of your call?
Well, my whole point is that they nationalized the oil, which means they have socialist, communist.
And then they didn't. And then they unnationalized it, right? Because you said they don't have that anymore.
But I have no idea how is controlling it. How it's distributed. I mean, I don't know if the state owns it or not. But my whole point is that most of the Middle Eastern countries have been socialist, communist.
Why don't you move there then?
Well, I'm here. So the thing is, I'm
We've had people offer to pay for your ticket if you'll just like fly to China. I bet you they'd pay for your ticket if you could get one to Iran.
We could fundraise right. We could start the fundraiser tonight.
We'll just put you on a boat, and we'll send you over there.
You know that guy that's in jail in Russia that hates Putin? It's like telling him to move to America. Do you think it's that easy?
They're putting people in jail in Ukraine who are pro-Putin.
Thank you for the call tonight. I wish it was easy for people to move around the world, and then we would have a better world because people could go to the places that they thought was right for them. We don't live there yet, though. Hour 3's coming up. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm William Denslow. Scorching temperatures have been seen across much of Europe, and wildfires are sweeping through parts of the continent. And the hottest day in the UK on record has now been officially recorded. Hundreds of firefighters have been battling blazes across London. Chris Jones reports from the capital.
It's officially the hottest it's ever been in the UK right now. A temperature of 39.1 degrees Celsius was recorded at around midday UK time in Surrey, just outside of southwest London. This follows the record for the hottest night ever, which was also recorded in Surrey at 25.8 degrees Celsius. Health experts have warned people to stay indoors where possible and not to make unnecessary journeys. They say the temperature could keep rising, and it's been reported that several people have already died because of the heatwave, including a 14-year-old boy in West London.
The US believes that Russia plans to annex more parts of Ukraine, using similar tactics seen with Crimea back in 2014. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says the operation is already in the works, and that sham referendums could be held by September. This comes as Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska is in the US to meet her US counterpart Jill Biden and to address Congress. She's also met Secretary of State Antony Blinken as Ukraine seeks more aid for its response to Russia's invasion. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
The Ukrainian First Lady's visit to the US comes 4 months after her husband, President Volodymyr Zelensky, made a virtual speech to Congress calling for more military equipment. He received a standing ovation from US lawmakers. Olena Zelenska is expected to address Congress in person on Wednesday. Ms. Zelenska has no official role in the Ukrainian government, but Kyiv is keen to seek more military aid and political backing from the US.
People in Kansas will have to vote to decide on whether the right to abortion should remain protected under law in the state. A number of US states have already banned abortion since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The issue's getting a lot of attention during the primary elections ahead of November's congressional midterms. US correspondent Caroline Malone reports.
Voters in Kansas will be the first to decide for themselves if the right to abortion should remain constitutionally protected. On August 2nd, they'll go to the polls with the choice of removing a law that says personal autonomy is protected by the state's constitution's Bill of Rights.
And a US court has agreed to fast-track Twitter's lawsuit against Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO decided to walk away from a takeover of Twitter, claiming the company misrepresented how many spam accounts are on the platform. Twitter claims Musk breached their merger arrangement. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. As various parts of the world come under heat advisories this week, some new research is suggesting a link between climate change and insomnia. Researchers at the University of Copenhagen studied nearly 24 climate change models, and they're projecting that we will all lose between 50 and 58 hours of sleep each year if the Earth continues warming at its current level. That's because there's a direct link between the temperature in which you're sleeping and the depth of that sleep. Dr. Janet Neshwat is a medical director and GP at CityMD in New York.
Anywhere between 68 and 72 degrees is where most people like to sleep. But you don't want it to be too hot, because definitely can interfere with your sleep and wake you up in the middle of the night. Don't lay in bed on your cell phone at nighttime when you're trying to fall asleep. Don't watch TV or sleep with the television on. All these little things together can help improve your sleep and help get you to sleep and keep you asleep.
Research shows sleep loss is 3 times higher in summer than it is in winter, which is one of the reasons why the researchers in Denmark believe that global warming is poised to have such an impact on our ability to rest. They say in the last 20 years, people have already lost around 44 hours or 6 full nights of sleep each year as a result of global warming. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
FSN is an independent source of news for TV, radio and digital networks worldwide. You can find more of our minute-by-minute updates on Twitter. Follow us there at Feature Story. And we have a wealth of audio and video stories from our global news bureaus on Facebook. You can find us there by following Feature Story News. Stay tuned for further updates right here. But for now, that's the latest Feature Story News. William Denzelo reports.
The push to legalize marijuana is gaining momentum. These prescription doobies will do a whole lot more than just give patients a case of the munchies. Proponents are piping up to say that medical marijuana can help patients with some of the chronic illnesses that have been majorly killing their buzz. Unfortunately, 36 U.S. states are still not a kind bud of the legalization argument. But in states that do have the plan, the results have been, well, pretty far out, man. Patients nationwide are bluntly asking state legislatures to finally mellow out so that they and their doctors can work jointly to stop the suffering that's making a hash of their lives.
So it's clearly an issue that means a lot to these patients.
So states shouldn't toke their time with this policy. We'd be upset if patients had to wait a long time.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. We're kicking off the third hour of the show. Phones are open, and the number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Ian here with you.
And Arya.
And Conan.
And join us online anytime you want over at freetalklive.com. You can join our social media platform. It is our platform. It's not run by some mega tech corporation. It's running on our server. It's a Mastodon-based system, which means it is open source. It means it's federated with thousands of other Mastodons all around the planet. Very, very cool system, and it's free for you to use. And you got a lot more freedom to express yourself there. It's social.freetalklive.com.
And they don't feed you, your algos don't feed you loads and loads of nonsense that you don't want to watch. You like what you like, and that's your stream. It doesn't just keep going forever and ever. Amen.
And no advertising.
Yes,
either.
yes.
So get on over to social.freetalklive.com as we go to your phone calls. Major Payne is on the line in Michigan. Go ahead, Major.
Hey, guys. Area. I was just thinking one of the flies in the ointment that the government's got right now with this recruiting concept of theirs is they're talking to young men that they expect to be warriors, and they're telling them that they got to listen to Tickle Me Elmo and take the Fauci ouchie. And if they're paying any kind of attention at all, they're hearing these horror stories about guys that are getting run out of the military with, a year or two left on their hitch, and they're losing their entire pension. It's not like the government's trying to be fair and offer them, an adequate percentage for the time of the contract they fulfilled.
No, of course not.
They're putting themselves untrustworthy once again.
Of course, that's how they do it. And it's amazing that anybody continues to join, but as Conan pointed out, they've got a grip on Hollywood. So there's propaganda that has just been pumped into Americans' heads for decades, generations upon generations about this military, and maybe we're starting to see that break at this point. But they still do have a real grip on the American populace.
Yeah, just look at that polling data from last week, where
more than 60%.
It's still like almost 70% of people still are in favor of the military, not the police so much. But yeah, it's because
police were up there too.
But you don't have the police. Usually, you don't have a police table. Did you guys ever have not recruitment day, but what is it?
Job fair.
Job fair at the schools. Is the police usually there? Do they even have to go out and advertise? Because I know the police are complaining too.
Wait. Do you mean job fairs, or where the cops or the people with certain careers come and speak?
Career day.
Career day. That's what it was called. Yeah, we had that.
And usually the gym was all of the employers in town, including the military and sometimes the police. Set up shop, set up a table.
At my school, we didn't have anything going on in the gym. They would just have speakers come into classrooms and talk about their.
I told you guys a couple of weeks ago at the Cherry Festival in Traverse City, they had one of them recruiting tents set up for the state police. Somebody stole it about midnight.
Anything else, Major?
Well, I did have another damn thought, but I must have tilted my head and the marble rolled out the roulette wheel.
All right, man. Thanks for the call tonight.
Did your article that we just covered, Arya, mention all of the military who have taken honorable discharges in the last 2 years because they refused to take the jab?
Well, it was from the military times.
Because that's part of their. Yeah, exactly. They wanted. By the way, I looked at that.
They are propaganda.
They wanted more money. They wanted more money. That's why they were complaining.
Yeah. I mean, it's the official mouthpiece of the U.S. Army, right? So, I mean, of course, they're going to do everything they can to paint the Army in a positive light.
Yeah. I know at least thousands have already taken honorable discharges and they have not taken the jab into their lives. if they decided to go another route.
Is the Military Times military? I don't think that's true.
Oh, I thought they were.
They claim to be independent.
They're pro-military. That's for sure.
Of course.
I thought it was more difficult than that to get out of the military. I thought they could just, I thought they could just take these people and make them get the jab.
Yeah. No. You can't make someone do it. You discharge them if they refuse to play ball.
The U.S. government can make their soldiers do it
if
pretty
you
much whatever they want.
If you want to stay enlisted, yes. But no, they've already given the thousands of military the option of take the jab or you can be military discharged.
I understand that they did
I think coming up, I think there's a deadline coming up where we're talking a huge percentage of the military are walking because there's some
the jab?
Yeah, there's some deadline coming up if I'm not mistaken.
I understand that the military provided people with that option, but isn't there a long history of the military saying, "Hey, you're going to do this thing whether you like it or not"? Of
course there is.
Or we're going to send you to the stockade.
Yeah, it's called the draft.
Yeah, so why would why would vaccination be any different? If the military wanted to force these people to get vaccinated, they would do it.
Because at this moment in time, the draft isn't an option as far as forcing you into the military. It's all voluntary.
An honorable discharge is letting these people out of their contract. These people gave their lives to the military. The military has been shoving experimental drugs into soldiers for the last several decades.
That's true. Have Agent Orange.
This is no different.
Well, it is no different. And I think back then, if you didn't want to be experimented upon, you could probably try to quit the military and get discharged in whatever way at that time. Just what percentage of them are willing to do that is unknown. Bonnie's brother, one of her brothers, is in the Air Force, and he has indicated that he does not want to get this shot. And she's not in here right now, but I'm sure she would be able to clarify this. The number of people who are not getting the shot is very, very small. Very, very small. So it's
but a lot of the military are already rule followers from the get-go.
Yeah.
Well, you don't get into the Air Force without the military being your career choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Air Force in particular, some of the like the Army or the Marines or whatever, maybe not necessarily a career choice. The National Guard certainly not a career choice. Those are just stepping stones to another place.
Air Force is totally a career choice. Army are the deadbeats.
That's what I'm saying.
The bottom of the barrel.
That's what I said. I mean, these are stepping stones to better places.
Supposedly,
like most of the Marines I know ended up in the Air Force. They re-enlisted and joined the Air Force instead because and apparently being a Marine gave them better chances of being accepted into the Air Force. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the career path that they've chosen. No one goes, boy, I want to be in the National Guard as my career. Right.
I just don't think you're going to see a huge percentage or even a significant percentage of any of the branches refusing this jab.
This is an older article, but all National Guard soldiers were required to be vaccinated by June 30th of 2022. Or terminated.
Yeah. A lot of people don't want to lose their job. I'm
not sure about active duty.
There's a lot of people in the private industry that also took the jab, even though they supposedly didn't want it because they were just afraid of losing their job. Even though the crazy thing is, even though everybody's hiring, it's like if you're going to get fired, now's the time to get fired because it's so easy to get work out there from at least the way it looks.
Because you had a bunch of retirees. We're set for some hard times simply because all the baby boomers are retiring. But a lot of them who maybe had a couple more years to go just decided to retire early. Screw it. No, I'm not taking this. I'm not taking the vax into my life.
Yep.
I'm going to retire 2, 3, 4 years earlier than I anticipated. Bye, Felicia.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we're dealing with right now.
You think that's why there's so many jobs available?
Jobs available and a lot of screw-ups, a lot of coal trains getting flipped over because you have a lot of numbskull kids new on the job, fresh on the job who hadn't loaded a train before, or food factories burning down. And because I think there's a lot of numbskulls at the
screwing
wheel
it up
because they're not used to that type of work or just new on the job, newbies.
Meanwhile, I saw somebody posting the other day that New Hampshire is down to 2% unemployment.
That doesn't seem right.
That doesn't seem right. If you walk around downtown Keene, that doesn't seem or feel right. It's almost like the numbers are hyped up.
Well, they are manipulated.
Imagine that. Everything the state says is a lie.
Well, they are manipulated, right? I think I've heard that if you're not looking for work, they don't consider you unemployed. Like there's a certain definition to being quote unquote legally unemployed.
I don't know, where are these people at? Because them checks have not been flowing recently.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where are these people? Whose basement are these people living in? I know.
It's a good question.
Of course, there are a lot of baby boomers who are retired who
just take care of their kid.
Who got money and they can take care of a deadbeat kid.
Could be.
A hunter, if you will, a hunter kid, if you will.
The number is 603-283-6160. If you want to join us here, maybe you've got speculation on how unemployment could be at as low as 2% here in New Hampshire. I don't know what it is where you live, but yet everybody's hiring. How does that happen? The number is 603-283-6160. On the way. Are we going to see psychedelic mushrooms getting legalized in more places than they already are? And they're already in a few places. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
is Free Talk Live, and you can join us here and bring in whatever you want at 603-283-6160. Comment on what's on your mind. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Aria.
And Conan.
And you can join us online anytime at freetalklive.com. Just download archives there if you like. You can also subscribe to our podcast, which you'll find links to over at feeds.freetalklive.com. Copy the link to the RSS feed of your choice, drop it into your favorite podcast client, or just use the links there to some of the major platforms like Spotify and iHeartMedia or whatever. There's a few different ones there that you can easily find us on, and they'll link you over to it over at feeds.freetalklive.com. The Denver Gazette reporting on psychedelic mushrooms, which is an appropriate location because Denver was, I believe, the first city in the United States to legalize through a ballot measure the use of psychedelic mushrooms for recreational purposes. If I recall correctly, that was a few, if not several years ago at this point. We've seen other cities follow suit, including Oakland, California, Santa Cruz, even a few cities in Massachusetts. So it's not just a West Coast thing.
Didn't Portland go like all the way and decriminalize everything?
Oregon did. The entire state of Oregon.
Wow, I thought it was just Portland.
That was, I think, the 2018 or 2020 election. So that's relatively new in Oregon. So it'll be interesting to see, what I think it was 2020. We're still, they still got to get new data out of there and see how that's going.
I imagine violent crime will be down. I imagine all of these crime numbers that, they say are the fault of drugs will be down.
We hope so. Certainly that's been the experience in Portugal, which has done this for 2 decades now. They've had an experiment with semi-legalization. It's just a legalization, basically, or a decriminalization of personal possession. So you still can't deal it, you still can't manufacture it, but if you get caught with a little bit of heroin or MDMA or whatever it is that we're talking about, then you'll probably get a little smack on the hand, maybe a fine, maybe a mandatory drug class or something. So there's still some sort of penalty, but it's not like it used to be. So here's the story from the Denver Gazette. More states may legalize psychedelic mushrooms. Alex Jones, not the one you're thinking of.
Oh,
that's too bad.
Says the female
They're
Alex
putting
Jones.
chemicals in the water that are turning the frogs gay.
Alex Jones needs to take some mushrooms.
Yes, he does. So he needs to stop drinking alcohol and take something a little on the other side of the equation.
She says a trip in Jamaica saved her life. Not a trip to Jamaica, a hallucinogenic trip in Jamaica. Severe depression had descended on Ms. Jones at age 10 and stayed there relentlessly for the next 2 decades. She couldn't work, couldn't bear the sight of herself in the mirror, and for days on end could barely lift herself off her couch. The temptation to end it all was always at the periphery. You got to wonder, why does somebody just have depression descend on you at age 10? Her parents, were they divorcing? What was it in her life that, led her to this? Could be the pressures of school. Yeah, that's a
it also
possibility.
sounds like she could be one of the rare cases that just legitimately has a chemical imbalance.
Jones said, "I felt like I was the walking dead." She's now 34 years old.
That would be the antidepressants that were doing that.
She endured hours of talk therapy and rotated through 30 different drug regimens. She did light therapy, dark therapy, an experimental a ketamine nasal spray, and then a ketamine infusion. She underwent rounds of electroconvulsive therapy and sleep deprivation. She submitted transcranial magnetic stimulation, where she wore a big helmet.
That sounds familiar. Is that the thing that Mark did in Texas?
I don't know what he did. He did something with magnets, though, didn't he?
He did.
In this case, she wore a big helmet equipped with magnets. None of it...
Imagine that didn't work.
I'm immediately going to Back to the Future, Doc with his head device.
I mean, if you've had this illness for decades, I understand why she would be willing to try anything. I do. It sounds silly to think about wearing a helmet with magnets in it or whatever.
It works.
None of it worked for her, at least not for long, and some brought severe side effects. Doctors told her she was treatment resistant, meaning seemingly beyond help. But in 2019, she happened upon a 60 Minutes report on clinical studies showing strongly encouraging results in using psilocybin, a psychedelic agent derived from mushrooms, to treat patients with depression, anxiety, and addiction.
By the way, key natural compared to all the synthetic crap that she was trying, all the man-made synthetic bull crap, and finally... we've got some natural remedy on the recipe, and
well, she tried some of the natural stuff, whatever light therapy and dark therapy is, or
Magnets are natural.
But not in a helmet on your head. You're not Magneto.
I'm curious what
the X-Men Magneto is not natural.
I'm curious what light therapy and dark therapy are now. I've never heard of them.
I suspect exposure to.
I'm going to
both
Google
of
it.
How is that supposed to be helpful, though?
There's all kinds of quackery out there.
Well, I mean, you've got cabin fever in the north, where you have lack of sun or too much sun, and that has a detrimental effect on the human.
Well, that's also people being trapped in their cabins for months on end without any company and stuff like that.
Yeah, but being in complete darkness or complete light can also. It's just like travel sickness or what is it? Zone. What's the word I'm looking for?
Talking about the time zone.
Time zone change. Jet lag. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our bodies are basically set up, and if you start playing with the light
clocks.
Start the internal clocks, it'll mess you up quick.
So outside of the trials, the treatment's not available in the United States, where psilocybin remains illegal under federal law. Jones then booked a 1-week stay at a Jamaican retreat. And we've talked about these on Free Talk Live. They're kind of this new thing. Like, it used to be that if you wanted to do ayahuasca, for instance, which is not the same as mushrooms, obviously, but it's another way to trip and address some of the issues that you might have internally. It's a very long trip from what I understand. I've never done ayahuasca. I have done DMT, which is the short-acting version that you would inhale, for instance. But ayahuasca is generally brewed as a tea, and it's going to go for 24 hours or something crazy like that. It's a really long trip.
That is a long trip.
So you have to be willing to spend the time, but you also would have to fly down to the Amazon jungle and go to some sort of a medicine man or go trek for a ways. So they've started to put these experiences into resorts where people can just go and spend $2,000, go to some posh resort in Jamaica and take their trip there, and then when they're done, they can go to bed in their nice king bed room at this fancy resort.
You know what? If you have the money to go on one of these trips, then I'm thinking that there might be something, because if you have the money from your workplace, I think you're probably working too much. And maybe you should just work less hours, and that might, work on your depression a little bit. Or,
I don't think so,
or maybe
dude.
you're some richer.
The last thing you want to tell somebody with depression, from those who I've known who
is to not work.
Is to not work, because then they're just going to be at home and they're going to be worse.
Yeah, but these are the same people who work all year long, and they're just dying for that 2-week straight vacation to go wherever to go, and it's just like,
those people are more likely to be stressed.
Why don't you just work 3 days a week and then have some hobbies? I'm telling you, a lot of these people are overworked, and I think that's what's causing a lot of their problems in their lives.
That's probably true.
I gotta agree with Ian on this one, though. I don't think too many people suffering from depression also have the problem of working too much. They tend to be significantly less productive than everyone else.
Depressed people don't want to get out of bed. They sure as hell don't want to take a walk. I mean,
but where are they getting $2,000 to go on this trip?
Well, not all of them are completely immobilized. Some of them are able to work. It's just they're sad for whatever reason.
And she may have a good job that pays her, $50 an hour or whatever. She only works 10 hours a week.
Yeah, there's more coming up here in moments. The number is 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in New York, I'm William Denslow. Scorching temperatures have been seen across much of Europe, and wildfires are sweeping through parts of the continent. And the hottest day in the UK on record has now been officially recorded. Hundreds of firefighters have been battling blazes across London. Chris Jones reports from the capital.
It's officially the hottest it's ever been in the UK right now. A temperature of 39.1 degrees Celsius was recorded at around midday UK time in Surrey, just outside of southwest London. This follows the record for the hottest night ever, which was also recorded in Surrey at 25.8 degrees Celsius. Health experts have warned people to stay indoors where possible and not to make unnecessary journeys. They say the temperature could keep rising, and it's been reported that several people have already died because of the heatwave, including a 14-year-old boy in West London.
The US believes that Russia plans to annex more parts of Ukraine, using similar tactics seen with Crimea back in 2014. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says the operation is already in the works, and that sham referendums could be held by September. This comes as Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska is in the US to meet her US counterpart Jill Biden and to address Congress. She's also met Secretary of State Antony Blinken as Ukraine seeks more aid for its response to Russia's invasion. Kate Fisher reports from Washington.
The Ukrainian First Lady's visit to the US comes 4 months after her husband, President Volodymyr Zelensky, made a virtual speech to Congress calling for more military equipment. He received a standing ovation from US lawmakers. Olena Zelenska is expected to address Congress in person on Wednesday. Ms. Zelenska has no official role in the Ukrainian government, but Kyiv is keen to seek more military aid and political backing from the US.
People in Kansas will have to vote to decide on whether the right to abortion should remain protected under law in the state. A number of US states have already banned abortion since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The issue's getting a lot of attention during the primary elections ahead of November's congressional midterms. US correspondent Caroline Malone reports.
Voters in Kansas will be the first to decide for themselves if the right to abortion should remain constitutionally protected. On August 2nd, they'll go to the polls with the choice of removing a law that says personal autonomy is protected by the state's constitution's Bill of Rights.
And a US court has agreed to fast-track Twitter's lawsuit against Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO decided to walk away from a takeover of Twitter, claiming the company misrepresented how many spam accounts are on the platform. Twitter claims Musk breached their merger arrangement. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. And you can bring up whatever you want. Maybe you've had experience with psychedelic mushrooms as a therapy, solving really hard to solve problems like depression. That's a story we're talking about right now out of the Denver Gazette. A woman who's named Alex Jones says she had a lot of difficulty defeating depression that was with her for something like 2 decades and tried all of the different approaches out there, 30 different drug regimens, various different therapies.
By the way, I did look up light and dark therapy.
Oh, okay.
They kind of make sense, except light therapy is basically we have your winter white lamp,
the vitamin D lamps. Or
oh yeah, it is, and it cures especially not vitamin D deficient, but the seasonal affective disorder. And which is something I get, by the way.
Oh really?
Like come February rolling around, I've had enough. And I think a lot of people are in that same boat where it's just
never bothered.
Is that really a disorder? That's just like I'm sick of being cold, right? I mean,
No. I'm talking about the darkness.
It's a depression thing for people get from not getting enough vitamin D, supposedly.
Okay. From a good light source.
Florida, I've never had this experience. To me, it's just like,
so you get it too.
Whatever. No, I don't.
This is my first time.
I don't get
experiencing
seasonal affective disorder. It doesn't bother me.
Well, I get it like 1 month a year.
Okay.
February.
I've been here only about 4 years at this point, but I've never experienced that.
But the dark therapy is the strange one to me. It's actually
you sit in the dark,
sitting your patient in the darkness for a prolonged period of time, however long it takes.
That's a good meditative experience.
Basically, it supports the circadian rhythms, and it's actually it's a form of dark therapy is to block blue wavelength lights to stop the disintegration of melatonin. And I guess it's good for headaches, chronic fatigue syndrome, and insomnia. But I guess if it works for you,
So
it didn't work for this lady.
She tried 30 different approaches before she finally booked a 1-week stay at a Jamaican retreat. Under supervision there, she underwent 3 psychedelic mushroom sessions, followed by sessions with facilitators on the island, and on her own for months back home in Tacoma, Washington, unraveling the psychedelic trips that she had experienced. What she discovered was she felt better, much better. She said, "It woke me up. I was alive. I was me again. I could see the beauty in the world. Even the physical changes were surprising. The next day, after my first dose, I was charging up sand dunes. Before that, I had a hard time going up the stairs," she said. 5 months ago, she told Washington legislators considering a bill that would legalize the use of psilocybin that the trip she experienced in Jamaica, quote, "had saved my life," unquote.
Now, she had someone supporting her, someone who walking her through the professional
trip sitters, basically.
I like that, trip sitter.
Witch doctors or whatever you want to call them.
I mean, it sounds like they may have been closer to therapists.
Yeah, they call them facilitators. Whether they're licensed therapists or not, they're people who have experience with the drug and they can
which, by the way, I
it.
think is very important to this new conversation that we're having of using psychedelics to actually
treat people,
fix yourself.
Yeah.
But a lot of these, but it's very, very easy to hurt yourself as well if you don't do it right, or if you do it with the wrong people
or the wrong place.
You could tear all your successes right on down and turn yourself into a raving lunatic, and you're just scratching. Remember the horror stories back in the 80s where people were scratching their eyes out and stuff, and they were cutting themselves? And
yeah, but is that all true, or is it drug war propaganda?
What was the movie Jacob's Ladder? But of course, that was MK Ultra. Yeah, so prime example, MK Ultra. You had a trip sitter, but they were actually trying to torture you using psychedelics.
Break your psyche.
Yeah.
With research showing promising results for patients, lawmakers in other states and cities are also considering loosening psilocybin restrictions. A few states want to legalize psilocybin treatment for all adult patients, while others want to limit it to veterans or others with PTSD. Some states have formed task forces to study the issue.
Oh, well, thank goodness.
This is just another moneymaker. This is just like the legalization of marijuana.
Yeah.
That everyone is all crazy happy about, and it's just another way for government to tax something.
Yeah, but psilocybin saves people's lives. I would rather it be
decriminalized
and taxed than for it to be illegal.
No doubt.
No doubt. Let's do it. I've never been in favor of legalization or decriminalization. I've always been take it off the books.
Yes.
It's a natural substance. I can grow it in my back damn yard.
End prohibition. That's the end
absolutely. Get rid of it. Stop trying to make money off of people.
And I hope that we get enough people to move to New Hampshire to where when it's time for this to happen in New Hampshire, we do it the right way here.
Yeah.
And that's why we haven't seen marijuana legalization here yet. We've seen a little decrim. And that's been a good thing.
Because we're surrounded by states that have done it, and we have the alcohol lobby. We make so much money off the alcohol. I don't think they want. I don't think they want weed as a competitor to their alcohol industry.
I don't think that's it. I think it's New Hampshire is a very conservative kind of place, even though it's got a libertarian streak through it. It's conservative in that they don't like to change, and so once a law gets set, it's hard to remove it here. It's a lot harder here.
Didn't a few laws get passed, but Sununu vetoed them?
I mean, weed
usually
laws?
It doesn't make it through the Senate.
Okay.
Usually the Senate won't pass it. And I'm glad they didn't, because the one that was getting passed by the State House this time around had a monopoly for the state. So they would have just created state weed stores.
Just like we have state liquor stores.
It would have been a terrible idea.
Which, for whatever reason, the state liquor store has managed to keep the price of liquor extremely low.
That's because they're not taxing it.
Yeah, but they make a lot of money off of liquor.
They sure do.
And a lot of our surrounding states come to New Hampshire.
Yeah. Well, that's the danger to putting marijuana in the hands of the state stores, because then you got to try to take it. Then, if you want to have more freedom, you have to try to take it away from them, and good luck doing that. Yeah. It's like good luck trying to propose the abolishment of the Liquor Commission, which needs to happen, but they are a huge revenue generator for the state, and they're not going to go easily.
Nope. They're not going to get that up.
Studies in recent years have found psilocybin and psychedelics, other ones, can have beneficial effects for a variety of mental health and other conditions, such as PTSD, anorexia, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, and addiction. Indigenous populations around the world have recognized the beneficial effects of psychedelics for hundreds of years and incorporated them into their spiritual rituals. In fact, the Oklavweha Church, that's a Native American psychedelic church based out of the West,
They are, they've got members everywhere. And there was an interesting case here in New Hampshire back in 2020, I think it was. It went to the New Hampshire Supreme Court, where a guy that got arrested for using mushrooms, I believe possessing, I don't know if he was growing them. But this might be a good argument in that case as well. He made the argument that this is my religion. I'm using these for religious purposes. This is a spiritual journey for me.
Which, by the way, is the way that it should be.
Yeah, and I'm using them responsibly. I'm in my own home. I'm not going around, making a bunch of noise or whatever, causing problems. And the Supreme Court of New Hampshire overturned his conviction and made an amazing
It was like a 5-0 decision.
It was unanimous, yep. And so they made the statement that New Hampshire's Constitution is stronger than the United States Constitution for religious expression. And the point they made was, in the U.S. Constitution, you have freedom of religion. Okay, well, that's good. But in New Hampshire, you have the freedom of worship. You have the freedom to worship your God in the way that you choose. And so they said, overturned. You're free.
Good.
And it was amazing. But the funny thing is, it's still illegal.
The Reformed Satanic Church advocates psilocybin for religious purposes as well.
Yeah. But it's still illegal here to do these things. And I've made this point in front of the state house when there was this year there was actually a bill to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms in the same way that marijuana has been decriminalized, where it would just be a $100 fine if you got caught with some.
Right.
And unfortunately, that bill didn't move forward, even though I pointed out to these old coots in the state legislatures, like, hey, you guys, this is by de facto already legal as long as it's for religious purposes. So why don't you get caught up and actually make it decriminalized for all other purposes?
As you mentioned, because change is hard for some of these old coots.
It really is.
I mean, these are the same people who are like, well, we don't want to legalize marijuana because how are you going to keep the kids from getting on crack or whatever crazy thing they were saying?
In 2018, the Food and Drug Administration named psilocybin a breakthrough therapy in treatment for severe depression, a designation the agency applies to drugs that in early trials demonstrate substantial improvement over existing treatments.
What agency said this?
U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Not everyone is ready to give mushrooms the go-ahead. In written testimony in February to the Maine Joint Legislative Committee, which was considering a legalization measure, a director of the CDC cautioned that there are not yet enough recognized medical standards to ensure the safe use of psilocybin. There's more coming up here in moments. You can share your thoughts on legalizing shrooms here on Free Talk Live. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active. to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. We're talking about the potential legalization of psilocybin mushrooms. It seems like the next big thing when it comes to ending prohibition. We've seen tremendous success over the last 2 decades for cannabis, with California leading the way, of course, in the mid-1990s with the proposition that legalized it for medicinal purposes. We've now seen that expand, I think, 36 or so states that have medicinal programs. I haven't seen the numbers recently. There's only a handful of states that are left without it, like a dozen. And then, of course, there's been several of the states that have gone through legalization processes for recreational purposes for cannabis. But they all want to shove regulatory structures down people's throats. They all want to have taxes. They all want to have mandates. They all want to have licenses. And
Licensures is the big one.
And as we covered recently, in California, the feds and the local cops are still raiding people's houses for selling marijuana without a government permission slip. So the war on drugs still continues. And
that's what it's always been about. It's always about licenses and paying the government fees and begging their permission. Even if the thing is legal, you still have to beg their permission in order to engage in that behavior. That's not freedom.
Because the government and all of the departments that use government don't like competition.
Correct.
They don't like some little guy in his backyard growing a tremendous product.
And they like control. They like to be the ones who get to be the kingmakers. They get to say which one of their buddies are going to get the license. And then, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have any more licenses available in your area. And that's what they do in a lot of these places. But that said, I do still agree with what y'all were, I think it was you, Conan, saying earlier, that you'd rather see people getting not put in prison over this in general, or just for using the thing. So any steps in that direction I tend to support, but let's look at what's going on out there across the country. According to DenverGazette.com, recently it was Oregon voters. Now, we talked about how Oregon voters voted to decriminalize small amounts of all drugs, which is the first such experiment of its sort in the United States.
That's almost Portugal level.
Yeah, that was kind of the inspiration behind it, as I understand. So we're still waiting. It hasn't even been 2 years yet.
It's been successful everywhere it's been tried, though. So
yes, it will
I tend to think it'll be okay.
But that same year, they also approved a ballot measure that puts the state on a path to a regulatory and licensing framework starting in 2023 will enable patients to take psilocybin under supervision. Oregon is the first state to legalize psilocybin for therapeutic
uses. So
why
gotta,
waste the time? That's how marijuana started out. Medical reasons.
Licensures. Now you have to have a specialist who specializes in psilocybin treatment, a trip sitter.
They can still have that nonsense if it's recreational, though. Just like they still license, marijuana companies.
Well, it's not recreational at this point. It's decriminalized, so you won't go to prison.
They're doing the medical approach first, and then first you do the medical, and then you allow recreational. It's like, can we just jump to the ending here and skip over the medical phase?
I wish we could. Maybe we can here in New Hampshire, but no. In its budget bill this year, the Connecticut legislature started the process toward legalizing centers in which veterans and first responders could be administered psilocybin and MDMA.
Wow.
Some veteran groups have pushed for making psychedelic treatments available for veterans, particularly those with PTSD. But that's not going to include anybody else besides veterans and first responders. Texas, Utah, and Washington State have set up task forces or funded research into the medicinal use of psilocybin. Maryland has created a $1 million fund to study alternative treatments, including psychedelics for PTSD or traumatic brain injury, and pay for those treatments for veterans. Ballot initiatives that would legalize psilocybin are underway in Colorado and California. And last month, the president of the New Jersey Senate introduced a bill that would legalize psilocybin to treat certain disorders.
Why are so many states anxious to pick up the bill for the traumatized soldiers that were traumatized by the U.S. federal government?
It's political. They're just trying to win brownie points.
Okay.
Like, oh, look what we did. Re-elect us. Well, we love the military.
I mean, you could just demand that the federal government that created the traumatized people actually dealt with these traumatized people, but okay, sure.
Cities including Ann Arbor.
They give them opium in the form of oxy.
Oxys, yep.
See, I was okay with opium, but
until I took it to the next.
Yeah, then they overly process it, just like you could probably make a.
But that is their answer to treating
dope them up,
PTSD, and just every other kind of ailment that the vets have to suffer afterwards. They dope them up. Yeah, this is the truth.
Cities, including Ann Arbor, Michigan, Denver, Oakland, California, and Seattle, have passed measures that essentially decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms and sometimes other psychedelics derived from plants or fungi. The cities make no distinction between medical and recreational uses, and the world hasn't melted down in those cities. Everything is okay as far as psychedelic mushroom use is concerned.
Well, psychedelic drugs don't generally, invite a lot of crime.
That's true.
If everyone is running around on psychedelic drugs, no one's running around, beating people up or being violent or anything like that, because everyone's just kind of having a good time and they're one with the universe, and
Indeed.
you don't want to destroy yourself.
They're laying on their living room floor in the carpet, and they're
most of them aren't running around.
Fair. I guess it depends on how dosed they are.
They're probably safely at home if they are responsible people. But those states may put a regulatory system in place, or even in those states that might put a regulatory system in place, would not do so in a medical setting, a concern raised by the objector in Maine. The Maine bill, which didn't pass, contemplated psilocybin centers that the man testified, quote, would function like recreational use facilities rather than medical treatment facilities, puts limitations on the department's ability to regulate safe use.
Mushroom dens.
And doesn't incorporate sufficient behavioral and public health input to the structure. Blah, blah, blah. We always have to go up against these prohibitionists, and it's just so tiring. Proponents say they're comfortable with psilocybin use outside the medical system, but with regulation and licensing in place.
There it is.
This is one of the reasons why I really like decriminalized nature. Have you guys heard of them?
Yes.
Nature?
Nature.
Right.
Decriminalize nature. It's a newer group.
Oh, if it has seeds and I can grow it in my backyard, it's good to go?
That's kind of what they advocate. They advocate specifically for psilocybin and other psychedelics.
Weed.
That are natural.
I mean, how different is it from a tomato? I can grow it in my backyard. I can just drop some seeds, grow. How can you get me on that?
They started in California, and they have expanded out into other places. Actually, because of decriminalized nature is why the cities that they mentioned, Ann Arbor and Oakland and Santa Cruz and the couple places in Massachusetts, they didn't mention them here, but there are a couple towns in Massachusetts that have done it. It's been decriminalized nature that has spearheaded this. And
awesome.
One of the things I really like about them is when they are advocating for these changes, for decriminalization or the end of prohibition in these cases, they do not advocate a licensing scheme.
Good.
They're truly
that's my biggest crux right there is the stupid licensure.
And they're not libertarians necessarily. They're hippies
who understand that putting these things in the hands of a few corporations is bad, and they don't want to see that happen. They want this to be, it's nature. It can't be licensed. It's nature. It cannot be, should not be taken from anyone that wants to have it, or anybody that wants to create it or sell it.
I mean, they're not wrong. It's absolutely insane that we need a lobbying group or organization that actually points that out to people. Mm-hmm. It's nature, guys.
And so that's what they are proposing in a lot of these places isn't just psilocybin decriminalization, but a typical decriminalized nature bill would be to decriminalize anything that you can grow. So whether that be, cacti that you could use for mescaline purposes, or whether that be marijuana, or, whatever we're talking about, ayahuasca based, whatever that is you make ayahuasca out of. I don't know. There's a few different plants I think that can do that. But these sorts of things, and fungi. So fungi and plants, anything that naturally can be grown, they want to see made legal. Want to see decriminalized.
I think that's great.
So
I like. I'm looking at their mission statement. I think they're on.
They've got it together.
They got it together.
Anyway, Bonnie had put together a group here in New Hampshire, and we went and we testified on the bill here in New Hampshire. There's video of that. If you go to freekeen.com, you can search for psilocybin or mushrooms, and I'm sure that'll come up. Washington State Senator Jesse Solomon, a Democrat, sponsored a bill that would have set up a regulatory system like Oregon's. It would have adopted standards for cultivating mushrooms and processing psilocybin, as well as licensing centers and providers who would administer the drugs to patients, so a bunch of bureaucracy. The bill didn't move out of committee, but lawmakers appropriated $200,000 for a task force to study the issue.
Good.
Yeah.
That'll be productive.
He said the original bill generated keen interest, and particularly during a 2-hour hearing during which several veterans testified. And that's one of the key issues here is to making these things happen. Whatever it is that's being proposed, you got to find veterans. If you can parade some veterans in front of a city council and get veterans to tell them that this helps them, that taking mushrooms help them with their PTSD, you'll get unanimous votes out of the council.
Not always, though. I went before city council as a veteran when they were promoting their thin blue line down Marlborough Street where they painted the thin.
That's different.
I got up there and I said, "This is bullcrap. This is bullcrap. I'm a veteran. This is bullcrap." And they said, we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
Screw you, Conan. Get out of here.
On mushroom bills, Conan. You gotta get the veterans. So if you guys are working on this stuff out there, make sure you recruit some of them to help you out. And check out Decriminalized Nature. We'll see you tomorrow night online in the meantime at freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world?